Her story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil rock.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Riff Worship. Somehow, I am host Justin Swindle, joined, as always, by Austin Paulson and Dylan Adams. Today, we are joined by a special guest who unwittingly and probably unknown to him helped influence my venture into punk through his punk bands, Arson Wells and Bears, and make history. He is currently on a podcast called Through Being Cool. Today we are joined by our friend Patrick Fagen.
Yeah.
Pat, how are you?
I'm really good. Yeah. I don't want to burst your bubble, Justin, but I don't like punk music. So so you're welcome, but also completely unintentional, buddy.
It's relatively punk.
That's the most Chazly answer I've ever heard too. I don't like it. I don't like anything I did.
Oh no, I'm very proud of it. I just a punk band I would not proclaim, but knowing that I'm sorry.
I always wondered, like, so you guys met through the bands that you guys were playing in, like Pat, I feel like we were living in the same town at the same time, but like we never really crossed paths, which was very weird because Bowling Green is a very, very small town. But yeah, how did you guys meet?
You were in Make History with Cole, or it was like right before Make History started when we met. And I was like, some guy that I was friends with was a really, really big fucking nerd for Bears. So like he was like, oh, I gotta meet those guys. Like I want to make them my best friends.
Yeah, that's I met Justin, and I think I knew of you because I had heard your name a lot because I knew Cody and Nick and all those guys and Chaz, of course. And then I met Dylan when you guys came in to get matching crowbar or down tattoos.
So that's Wyatt and I.
Did you work at Carter's?
I was according to my resume, I was the floor manager at Carter's.
Man, you managed the hell out of that floor.
Oh, dude, there wasn't a phone call that didn't get no, we don't do piercings. That was my job. My job was to answer the phone and tell people, no, we don't do piercings. And then when they would go, are you sure? I would go, yeah.
You like put the phone away for a second?
Yeah.
Pretty sure we don't. I looked in the back, bud. I'm sorry. We don't have that size.
After Pat left, the floor was just out of hand. He really was the best person at managing that floor.
Knowing who came after me, I agree with 100%.
Yes.
Yeah. I love Andy to death. I wish him nothing but the best in the world. I think he's one of the funniest, unintentionally funniest people I've ever met in my life. He's the kind of guy where you're like, hey, man, go check the mail. And he comes back and says, yes. So
awesome. Fuck.
My God. They got off the rails real fucking quick.
Yeah.
This first part was for us and no one else. That's it. Fuck them.
I guess the three main hosts of this show, we talk a lot about how we got into all these bands and got into these genre of musics that we talk about. What like drew you into heavy music, really?
Completely by accident. I grew up in an army base. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the childhood of an army kid, you either typically you move a lot. My dad was special forces, so we never moved. I spent 20 plus years at Fort Campbell. I didn't really move at all. So I had like a revolving door of friends. And one of my more, I would say, longer friend groups were some friends who lived down the street that I just happened to meet because I was wearing a Bush t-shirt and he was wearing a White Zombie t-shirt. And I was like, well, they both have guitars. We're friends now. And so it's almost like a stereotypical story of just kind of like I would show him music, he would show me music. He had an older sister who was into, at that time, would be considered, I don't want to say like underground, but like less popular stuff. New metal, not going to front here. Korn was probably like the first band that I heard that I was like, oh no, I want that. That's my life now. And then from there, I was a kid of the internet. So you get an album, you get the liner notes, you just go through that. You LimeWire every name you can possibly recognize. You accidentally sign up for street teams for labels that don't exist anymore, and you get a Victory CD sampler, and then it's just that revolving cycle of like, I don't know who that band is. I should find out. And then it just became this weird thing of like, finding your tribe, right? You go to school, you find other kids that like Drew. I was like, well, Drew's wearing a Slipknot shirt. He won't admit to it now, but he did. And I was like, hey man, I like heavy music. And he's like, you like Hatebreed? And I was like, yeah. And then just swapping CDs back and forth. And that's just pretty much how I found every friend group I have or people I still talk to, is because of, in some way, like heavy music, whether it's going to shows, playing shows, or just, I won't call it tape trading. I'm not going to try to get stolen valor, but just, burning CDs, right?
Right.
Yeah, even to this day, I have very few civilian friends. That's what I call them, normies. Just because it's like, I don't know what to talk to people about,
right?
Aside from like this. So this is huge for me. I'm a big fan of you guys. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, fucking Nick Brady. He's an old hardcore guy. Why won't he talk to you about music?
We'll get to that.
Guy.
We'll get to that. I love Nick to death, but I don't think Nick listens to a lot of heavy music anymore. And I got some, when we go to like things that people, suggestions, things to check out, I can definitely give Nick his flowers back there.
Well, maybe we should get in the bulk of our conversation here today.
The bulk of what this is about.
Yeah. Dylan, what are we talking about today?
One of my favorite records of all time. Bleeding Through's The Truth.
That's the truth, Drew.
That's the truth. Pat and I think, have a mutual admiration for this band. This band helped me get into tons of more hardcore adjacent bands as well. Throwdown, 18 Visions, a lot of the California bands, kind of helped my leanings into getting into death and black metal as well. I think Bleeding Through might even be one of the more underappreciated metalcore bands. To say I'm a fan, I've got all their records just like right here within distance. There's not a record I don't enjoy, but there are records I enjoy more than others for sure. But this band is what we're going to be talking about today, and primarily their 2006 record. Pat, what was your first introduction to the band?
I found Bleeding Through through, I'm sure, a band we're going to touch on at some point in this, through 18 Visions. My exposure to metalcore specifically came from bands like Glassjaw, Snapcase, Hatebreed, Poison the Well. And when I got exposed to, side projects, that kind of stuff, people are like, oh, you like 18 Visions? Well, you heard that guy's other band. And then that's when I started getting into Bleeding Through. And they were a staple for a very long time in my friend group, up until I think probably some of the later stuff where a lot of my friends started to be like, I don't know about, I think they may have lost me. And I think we're going to talk about there's some points on this record that I think I can point to where I think some of my friends were like, I don't know about this anymore.
I think there's probably one in particular that comes to mind on this one for me.
Okay. I'm excited to see if it's the same one I've got.
It might be, it might not be. But Austin, Swindle, other than me talking about this band for 15 years.
Nope.
Anything?
This is it.
Nothing.
We're new. Just a couple of newbies. I've never, you've talked about them to death in the time that we've been friends, of course. But this is like the first record I've ever listened to by this band. Don't know anything about them. So diving into the notes, there's a lot there. There's a lot of backstory, but yeah, this is a first. Swindle?
No, I had no prior knowledge, really. I was surprised. I was like, man, the vocals on this the slow song, they really remind me of Avenged Sevenfold vocals. And then I looked at the doc, and like in the record before this one,
two before
this one, they had a couple of people from Avenged Sevenfold on the record. So I was like, oh, huh.
Yeah, same area. Grew up in the same area. A lot of them all ended up going to high school together.
On the basketball team.
Yep. Yeah, he's got hoops. What is it? He's got ups. Played a lot of the same shows together. These guys grew up with like the Atreyu guys, 18 Visions, Throwdown. Orange County hardcore was apparently this really competitive area as well. Ton of bands from that area, and a lot of those bands have a very similar sound and a similar style in particular. Pat mentioned 18 Visions. 18 Visions were kind of one of the first bands to really start, I guess, dressing in all black and, going that route. They all used the same practice space, and as we'll learn, they swapped members back and forth and were in everybody's bands together, very incestuous at that point. But like really early hardcore shows being played, and Brandon Chiappetti of Bleeding Through, the vocalist of Bleeding Through, is a pretty prominent character in like 3 of those bands that I just mentioned. But yeah, want to get started and digging into a little bit of Brandon's backstory, and then we'll just kind of kick in with the band. So Pat, if you have anything you'd like to chime in on before we start getting into this, go for it.
Throwdown rips. Throwdown wrote the best Pantera song of the any time after 2006. No, Venom and Tears.
That's the album after that, right?
Yeah, the opening track on Venom and Tears is the best Pantera song post 2003.
Is it the track Venom and Tears, or is it Holy Roller?
Oh, I take you. My apologies. It is Holy Roller. It's the first song on Venom and Tears.
Yeah, that's right.
If you guys will indulge me, I have an anecdote about that album.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, shoot.
Okay. I accidentally downloaded the album, the version of that album that was supposed to go to radio, and the Venom and Tears. I wish I still had it. It was on my old iPod. It's the only version of that album I will ever listen to. Every 41 seconds, a radio voice comes in and goes, "Throw down Venom and Tears." So the whole album, you can listen to it, and every 41 seconds, a radio DJ's voice comes in to, I guess, like an anti-piracy thing.
Yeah.
And like, it'll be like, "Holy roller, throw down Venom and Tears." And it's so great. And I wish it's like one of the few things I regret about not having an iPod anymore is like I have that version of that album.
Brandon Chiappetti, mainly known as the lead vocalist of Bleeding Through, primarily the only original member of Bleeding Through currently. But Brandon Chiappetti grew up in Newport Beach, California. He initially grew up listening to late 80s kind of hip hop and R&B. He's mentioned Bobby Brown in particular. What was his hit?
The Ghostbusters 2 song.
The Ghostbusters 2 song. My Prerogative. That's what it is. But apparently, like a lot of different people that get into metal and hardcore, they either have an older sibling or an older friend. Brandon had an older brother. His brother would dub him tapes, or as he put it on a podcast recently, would burn him tapes mistakenly, and stated like he'd give me tapes with stuff like Metallica and Led Zeppelin on it, and I'd hear that and I go, well, this is cooler than what I was originally listening to, and this is heavier, so like I want more of this. And upon searching and making that deep dive into heavy music, which we've all done, where you hear one thing, you want to hear what else is out there, right? He started like perusing his brother's tape collection. His brother would dub him a tape with Ozzy, Metallica, Megadeth, the big bands at that point, but he wanted to hear more. So he'd like go through his brother's tape collection, and he found tapes from like Minor Threat and Uniform Choice. That's also how he found Straight Edge at this point. And For those that don't know, Bleeding Through for a long time was a straight edge hardcore band or a metalcore band. But basically, Brandon,
if you're not now, you never were, bro.
There it is. But he asked his brother who, what the X's were on the cover of the Uniform Choice album. And his brother mentioned it was straight edge and what it meant to him. So at that point, Brandon finds straight edge as well. But his statement was, I loved Uniform Choice. That's what got me into faster bands like thrashier stuff like DRI. DRI was my shit. That led me to discover more thrash bands like Exodus or Violence. But ultimately, it was a chance of seeing the band Integrity for one of the first times. I can't remember the venue, but he saw them local to him, and he went to the show. He was taking photos of the band, and he said it terrified him. It scared the shit out of him. He said he's like, I loved Pantera and I loved Slayer, and Integrity was kind of like that, but more raw. He like this bald guys on stage covered in tattoos in pretty good shape, just screaming his guts out. It's like, it scared me. And at that point in time, I'm 12, 13 years old. I was seeing a band that changed my life.
I can imagine being scared by Dwid at
my
13.
God. I mean,
I'm scared of him at 40. I got nothing but great things to say about him.
Yep. There's one individual that doesn't, but that's a completely different episode.
We don't know what it's like.
Yeah, I don't want that guy coming after me. But fast forward a few years, Brandon joins Throwdown. 18 Visions is brought into 18 Visions by his buddy Javier Van Huss, who then goes on to form Bleeding Through with Brandon Chipetti. Touch a little bit on Throwdown, 18 Visions. Pat mentioned 18 Visions. I'm an 18 Visions fan as well. I even enjoyed their Butt Rock album they did. Pat, when did you first hear them? What was the first thing you heard of them?
So the first time I was exposed to 18 Visions, this kid that I thought was the coolest kid in the world was wearing an 18 Visions t-shirt and a Darkest Hour trucker hat. His name is Mikey. I think he listens. Mikey rules. And Mikey I think I was wearing a Newfound Glory t-shirt. And this was like, I'm not trying to get cred for wearing a Newfound Glory t-shirt in 2000. Sure. Like, I'm not, but I was. And he was like, oh, so you like hardcore? And I was like, I guess. And so he was like, you should listen to these bands. And like 18 Visions was one of those bands. And it was, Vanity had come out, but he told me that I should listen to Until the Ink Runs Out, or
That's
Ink
it.
Run, I forget it. And that just, it blew my mind. I had never heard anything like that before. It was all the things I like. They found a way to take all the parts of everything I like about heavy music and put them into 6 minutes at a time. And it just, from there is where I found Throwdown, which I was like, this is the exact opposite. This is 4 on the floor, verse, chorus, verse, breakdown. And it's the same guys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then somehow Bleeding Through's like the happy medium.
Yeah. I can definitely see that there. Swindle, Austin, any familiarity other than me bringing up those names from time to time?
I know about Throwdown and them sounding like Pantera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask, Dylan, you say the Butt Rock albums.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I have
I said singular.
I was going to say, because let's not get off on too much of a tangent, but
Sure.
no one else in my life gives 18 Visions the time of day.
Sure.
Everyone else I know despises them. So Vanity, to me, is like, okay, what if Stone Temple Pilots had breakdowns, right? And like, it works.
Yep. The James Hart vocal ticks and everything. It's all there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you get, I'm sorry, not Till the Ink Runs, or not Vanity, I apologize. The one that came after.
Obsession.
That one, to me, that's the Stone Temple Pilots of Breakdown album.
It's got Tower Snakes on it.
Yeah. Yes. We can all agree Tower Snakes it's the hit. But like, everything else on that album is kind of like, this is a little tough. Are you even a fan of what I call the heel turned?
That's the one I mean.
You really?
Yep. I enjoy
God
that
bless.
record. It is, I remember, and it primarily sticks to the fact that it pissed my dad off. He was,
It's a spite record.
it's
It's just a spite record.
and it fucking grew. It fucking grew. No, I do. It grew on me. I remember seeing one of the videos. I'm at my dad's house in the summer. It came out summer of '06. It actually came out around the time of the record we're talking about today.
Right.
And it was a major label record too. Like, and they got major label money to push that thing, and it didn't do well. I heard Victim, one of the singles off of it on the fucking radio, and was like, this is insane. Because I knew where they came from.
Right.
And saw it and was like, this isn't hitting it. And my dad's like, what the fuck are you watching? I went, gotta buy the record. gotta fucking
Did you
buy it.
say it's what's the Celtic Frost record? Everyone, the Cherry Orchard.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
not
what's that
Cold
one?
Lake. It's the one. Is it Cold Lake?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but like to me, like that was the comparison I have is like
That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, you have like the Discharge hair metal record, right? But
Yep.
like, is it I would say that 18 Vision self-titled, your words, not mine, butt rock. It's the Cold Lake of the 18 Visions catalog. Right?
That's a good comparison.
Okay.
You know, it could be the Carcass Swan song kind of thing.
Yeah. It's the one where like they're not playing those songs ever again.
No. I saw them on that tour. For that
Man.
record.
With
They were
who?
opening for Bullet for My Valentine in a really small club in Arkansas. And I was like, oh, fuck, 18 Visions is on this. Like, I'm going. Like, I got to see this shit. They played mostly older shit. Like,
Really?
Yep. They ended with Tower of Snakes, the whole nine. Like,
I mean,
like
yeah.
it's fucking
you
great.
do.
Stage was this big, like amazing shit. And like, they looked like they were really getting pushed by radio at that time. Like, the thing about 18 Visions that like a lot of people, and I'm sure Pat can attest to this, is that
Licensed hairdressers.
there you go. They were slick looking fellas. They were paying attention to how they dressed and what they wanted to look like. And that was a lot of grief that they got from hardcore when they were around. Like, as Pat said, Until the Ink Runs Out is like chaotic and crazy and borderline progressive, like including like, you know, breakdowns and death metal parts and guttural vocals and all sorts of crazy wild shit in like 6-minute songs. It's fucking intense and insane. And Vanity is a fucking great record too. And it's even starting to push kind of the limits of where they wanted to go. And then you get Obsession, which is kind of towing the line there. But they went full on with that self-titled record. They even changed their logo. They no longer use the full spelling of 18 in Visions. It was 18V. And they were pushing for it really hard. But I digress.
X18VX.
Yeah. Right. That band has since had a reunion and so on and so forth. And some of the stuff's all right. I'm not going to knock it, but it's all right. I think the catalog of the band we're talking about today holds up a little bit more. But I'm biased. But Brandon joins 18 Visions, is in Throwdown as well. He's a guitar player in both bands at this point, and would be for a handful of years after Bleeding Through had formed. But Bleeding Through initially formed out of the ashes of a would-be side project called Breakneck. Breakneck included Javier Van Huss that brought Brandon into 18 Visions, as well as guitarist Scott Deneau, who basically Javier and Brandon had gotten in touch with, and they were just like, hey, you want to join a band that sounds like Unbroken and Integrity? He's like, fucking sure, I'll do it. But at this point, Breakneck plays one show, essentially calls it a day at that point. Bleeding Through forms out of the ashes of Breakneck attempting to reform. I believe the communication was, we want to go heavier. We want to see what else is out there. Like, we want to incorporate all of these different sounds and all of this. And Javier ends up either leaving or is asked to leave the band because they wanted to go a different direction. And Dave Peters of Throwdown joins Bleeding Through for like a cup of coffee, basically. And Dave Peters is the current vocalist of Throwdown. At today, I think he was playing guitar at that point. But anyway, Bleeding Through wanting to be heavier, go more towards this like blending of thrash metal, death metal. You know, Suffocation was thrown around a lot. Cannibal Corpse is thrown around a lot. Scott has been quoted as saying, you know, hardcore really wasn't fueling what I wanted to hear at that time. I was going back to what I grew up with, which were like thrash bands like Exodus, Slayer, Testament. But I was also getting into Cannibal Corpse and death metal at the time, you know, hence early Bleeding Through sounding like death metal at that point. And Brandon was also stated as they were listening to At the Gate Slaughter of the Soul, Soilworks, Chain Heart Machine, and they were wanting to look at it with what can we do to combine that style with the intensity of Integrity? How can we combine all this? And I don't hear Integrity in this at all. Maybe vocally a little bit in the demo I could hear it, but I don't hear a ton of it. I know what Integrity sounds like, and we all do. But Bleeding Through placed their first show on July 10th, 1999, and it was either with Disembodied or Martyr AD, one of those two. I'm leaning more towards Disembodied just for time frame, because I think Martyr AD was more kind of 02, 03, kind of in that realm there. But they released a demo in 2000, self-released, and the lineup for the band at that point is Brandon Chipetti, Mark Jackson on bass, Troy Bourne on drums, Chad Tafola on guitar, and Scott Deneau on guitar. I'm not even really going to get into production of this because there's no point. My favorite story about the recording of this demo is that Brandon was working at a lab with some guy at one point, and the guy was obviously a very religious person, had all of these Bible on tape tapes, and he fucking left it. And Brandon's like, all right, I'm recording the Bleeding Through demo on these. So he takes them, they record the demo in the drummer's bedroom. It's on a 4-track. He handwrites all the lyrics on the tapes, puts them in there, and starts giving them out at an 18 Vision show, which Brandon was a band member at the time. So why not hype up your side project at the show you're playing? Bleeding Through's first show was at Chain Reaction. It looks like Throwdown might have even been on the bill as well. So the information that I have about Disembodied was actually from Brandon in the Wolves Among Sheep DVD. So I'd love to find a flyer. I couldn't find it. I'd love to see that shit. But basically, Bleeding Through records the demo. A couple member changes happen here and there. They bring in their friend Vijay Kumar on bass during this time period. And then the first full-length Dust to Ashes arrives in 2001, released on Prime Directive Records, which also went on to release stuff by Throwdown, Martyr AD. At this point, not a whole lot's going on at the lineup. They add Molly Street on keyboards. She was asked to join the band. Basically, she was asked to join the band before she was even in the same area, the Orange County area. She was living up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and basically was just asked to join the band and only had a CD to learn the parts from it. But that's the first instance of the synths arriving in Bleeding Through sound.
Because if I remember, even in just the research, it was maybe she was even just asked to play on the recording, and then I think from what I understand, it went well enough. We're like, oh, this will work. Let's just keep doing this.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had ideas for where they wanted synths when they got in touch with her, or if they were like, hey, we want synths, you figure it out. Because it seems not weird, but crazy to approach a person if you don't already have something in mind to put that instrument in.
Swindle, I love you. Let me preface that with what I'm about to say. I love you. But let's be honest. How many people do we know who were in bands because they were around?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Hey, do you play? It's everybody who plays bass, aside from myself, played guitar first. Yeah, every drummer's in 9 bands, and then the 10th band refuses to play drums. You know what I mean? And how many vocalists were just kind of no one else in the room wanted to do it.
Right.
So maybe I mean it's just I hear you. I hear you. But part of me is just kind of hey, do you guys, anybody here know how to play keyboards? And they're like, why? And he's like, I got an idea.
Hey, Swindle, learn how to play drums for this band and then just be a drummer for the rest of
yeah.
You really fucked yourself on that.
Yeah, I may have told on myself there because I was like, well, I don't want to play guitar. There's too many strings. and then I was like, I'll just be a bass player. Then it's like, oh well, fuck, all bass equipment's twice as much as guitar equipment.
Yep.
So shit.
Fuck myself on that one.
You really made a mistake.
I wanted to do vocals way too late in being in bands where I'd already fucking cornered myself into being the bass player and everything. So,
and the question will be debated: how were keyboards put on the first Bleeding Through release? And, as we've all been in different bands where it's like, who can we get to fill insert spot, right? But these guys were probably already listening to black metal at this point in time too. And a lot of the elements of, if you've listened to the demo, which I finally did just a handful of days ago, it's there. Like there's some elements that would lean towards like Emperor or Cradle of Filth, Dimmu Borgir, that styling for sure, Satyricon, so on and so forth.
That was the most surprising thing about this. As a person who has never listened to this band and like turning this record in particular on, I was like, wait, what the? This is like metalcore and Cradle of Filth parts. Like, this is crazy. What are we doing? But I like that aspect of it, that this band a lot. There are some aspects I will get into later that I don't necessarily enjoy as much, but the kind of more like symphonic black metal stuff that's been going on with the keyboards, like all these epic parts and stuff.
Sure.
Very surprising, very cool.
Did the demo come out around the time? Because I wonder, because there was like that weird, I don't want to say weird time, but there was that like time in the early 2000s where like a lot of the European bands that influenced the metalcore bands at the time were coming over, and a band like, let's say, I'll use the example that I know, Caliban and Heaven Shall Burn, were playing festivals in Europe, and they have a more classical metal, they have the keyboard parts and that kind of stuff within those albums. I wonder if maybe those guys coming over and doing like opening slots for bigger metalcore bands around that time. I wonder if, they caught him at a show and just kind of became a influenced by osmosis type thing.
I'm sure of it, because the two bands that you mentioned are vastly more aggressive than some of their contemporaries that came out of that era. You look at maybe a band on the complete opposite side of the country, like Darkest Hour, like adding influence there as well from a lot of that stuff. In Flames was definitely having its kind of turn at that point too. They were getting a little bit more accessible, becoming more of a kind of stadium style band in Europe as well. You had bands like, what was it? God, fuck it. In Flames. Yeah. And then, I'm sure that's where they got a lot of that to it. And we're just like, let's fucking see if we can add another texture to this. Do we know somebody that plays keyboards? Hey, that girl Molly that was at the show is a keyboardist. All right, let's talk to her. Let's see what we can do. But during this period, obviously, band records its demo, first full length, Dust to Ashes. They wrote it over about 3 months and recorded it in 2 days. So a step up from the bedroom. But the big thing with Bleeding Through that Brandon wanted to really push forward was the lyrical content of the band. He stated, as there were a lot of bands kind of talking about the issues in hardcore, drugs, that sort of thing. And he wanted to come from more of a personal background with a lot of his lyrics. And if you follow the entire catalog of the band, it's there. He really doesn't change a whole lot from that, which is what helped me get into the band, because it felt more relatable to me. I grew up in fucking Arkansas. There was no hardcore scene that I knew of. There was like no going to shows. I lived in the fucking sticks. So it's like, okay, yeah, I got some shit I can relate to here. My heart hurts. I can relate a lot to this.
Oh boy, are we going to get to that?
Oh, there is a lot of it.
Take some baby aspirin, dude. I don't know.
God damn.
Get on Tinder, man. Grow up.
But basically, the band moves forward. Scott's even stated as saying, I never thought at any point people would really enjoy this. I never thought there would be 300 kids coming to our shows, would be ready for metal and hardcore. But they put out the demo and 300 kids show up. They put out the record, 300 kids show up to the show.
That's a dream come true for a local band, man. That's fucking crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, it's especially during this era, because 99, 2000, like metal in hardcore was still kind of this separate thing. There were the obvious bands, like Ringworm and Integrity. Those great bands Converge, obviously adding more metallic elements to it. You had all the stuff out on the East Coast, but this was also during a time where that was still you might as well have been on another planet.
That time was interesting because it was almost like it was coastal behaviors in a certain way, where you had like most of the East Coast stuff at that point, aside from, I would say, probably like Shadows Fall, was hardcore forward with metal leanings, right? People used to shit on Integrity for having solos. Like, and then Darkest Hour comes out and a guy's doing a solo the whole song, right? And I mean, on the West Coast, it was more it was more accepting, I think, of a metal forward band with hardcore parts, whereas like the East Coast at that time was very much hardcore forward with metal, with metal parts versus metal with hardcore vocals over like something traditionally like thrash vocals, right? So yeah, it is interesting to think that like both people were dipping in both sets, people were both dipping into both ends of the pool, but weren't really like hanging out with each other too much just yet.
Right. And I think you saw that too with a lot of the lineups during this period of time too, with bands and a lot of cross bills, a lot of death metal bands probably getting on shows with hardcore bands, and all sorts of shit taking place because of that and the different crowds meshing. But during this period of time, you'll start to learn that Bleeding Through has kind of a revolving door of different members throughout time. As when you first started to see different members start to disappear, namely drummer Troy. Basically, Troy leaves Bleeding Through because God told him so at this point. And there's a whole spiel about this. Basically, Brandon is broken down somewhere in the Midwest with 18 Visions, gets a phone call from Scott, and he's like, hey, man, Troy left Bleeding Through because Scott told him so.
Because who told him so?
God. Because God told him to.
Oh, hey, man.
God was mad about those cassettes. That's why he wanted to.
That's it.
I'm waiting. When's it going to be my time? When am I going to get the call?
Hey, he can call me today. But at this point, Scott and Brandon have a discussion of, do we want to continue with this? It's not going to be easy to find somebody to play that shit. Scott's like, I know a guy. Enter Derek Youngsma. Youngsma. I hope that's how we pronounce it. That's how I'm going to do it. He's referred to as Debo on a lot of the the interviews and the DVDs. So like, I'm not calling him that.
Knock the fuck out, man.
You what do you mean, my bike? But basically, Derek's background is my dad was a drummer. So at around 10 years old, he started teaching me things. He's quoted as saying his first song they ever learned was a Tom Petty song. But his dad helped him get into stuff like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. And around 12 or 13 years old, he started playing with some older guys where he grew up. And they started introducing him to, the great hardcore bands, Minor Threat, Agnostic Front, Black Flag. So that's where you get a lot of that punk and hardcore influence there. Another member change happens. Brian Lepke, who is a longtime member of the band, joins the band on guitar. He's initially a fill-in. He joins in place of Chad, who has then left. And what you're seeing now is kind of the culmination of the classic lineup of Bleeding Through for the members that were on This Is Love, This Is Murderous, and The Truth. But Brian grew up around the Santa Cruz area, got into the more of like the punk scene that was really popping off at the time, bands like AFI, Good Riddance, etc. And then he started going to shows and got into the hardcore scene because his friends were getting into hardcore at that time. During this time period as well, Bleeding Through signs to an actual record label that still exists to this day, being Indecision Records. Brandon was really close with the owner of Indecision Records, Dave Mendel, and basically they just signed to it. And the band and such bands that were signed to that were Mean Season, Unbroken, Throwdown, and Death by Stereo, which I think Pat has a story about.
Oh boy. All right. What a lead in. So Bleeding Through, I think this was right after their tour with AFI. This was around the time that the This Is Love, This Is Murderous album had come out. Bleeding Through is playing larger venues on that AFI tour, obviously, with that opening slot. And then they come and play a venue in Nashville, RIP, The Muse. I think everyone here has been there at one point in time. Austin, you never got that.
No, I moved to Bowling Green in like 2012.
Oh, man. Yeah, look, I mean, just there's no way to say this. Like, it is a formative place of my existence. It's what helped me come to the person I am, for better or for worse, ruin my life in all the best ways.
Have you been
learned?
Do you get teary eyed when you go to that Domino's or KFC or whatever it is?
No, honestly, I get more upset that I can't go take a dump in the porno store anymore.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah. I can't argue. I can't haggle with a homeless guy. offer him $2 and have him tell me the guy before me gave him $5, and then I take my $2 back.
That happened to me too. What the
Dude, yeah, dude, they're wily. So yeah, I know. But to answer your question, Austin, no, I miss taking a poop in the porno store more than I teary eyed when I drive by the Domino's. That's just capitalism, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Muse, I think it was a short notice show. Like, and it wasn't supposed to be like, it was, I think the show got promoted like a week ahead of time, and it ended up being kind of a weird lineup. I think Death by Stereo was on tour and Bleeding Through were on tour, and they happened to be in the area, and I guess they met up and finished a tour together. And one of the first dates on that tour was a show at the Muse. Now the Muse, not a large venue. I would say if you got 200 people in there, you're breaking fire codes. Like, honestly, like, so Throwdown's, we're all there to see Throwdown. Of course, Death by Stereo, you know, not everybody in Nashville was really big on them at the time, but, you know, the Muse was pretty open to like, hey, we'll at least watch the couple songs, right? So Death by Stereo started playing, and they're way more metallic than I was anticipating them to be. They weren't just like a straightforward Orange County punk band. They had like metal parts and solos, and kids were dancing, you know, the hardcore, the moshing, the swinging around, all that jazz. And my friend Spencer, I asked him if I could tell this story. He said yes. He's a bigger gentleman, and he's swinging his arms around, being a menace. And jokingly, one of my other friends just jumps on his back. And so Spencer kind of like pulls him around to the front and starts swinging him around as you do, but friendly. Friendly. There's no aggression in anything that's happening. It's all positive, right? For whatever reason, the lead singer of Death by Stereo jumps off the stage with the microphone and like pushes everybody away and is like, hold on. And like gets in my friend Spencer's face. And you could tell that as soon as he got into this, he realized that the height difference was monumental. And so you see the guy from Death by Stereo realize what he's done. And not that I think that he anticipated any kind of violence, because everybody was smiling because we're like, what are you doing? And for whatever, and I still to this day, my friends someone will just say this line and we all lose it. The lead singer of Death by Stereo says, everyone stop. You think you're tough? And my friend Spencer goes, not really. And the lead singer and he's still into the microphone. You think you're tough? You think you'll be tough, huh? How tough will you be when your cum's running down my face?
Oh, no.
And everybody was just like, and I remember Spencer being like, I don't know, man. Like no. And like, it's just like a hush falls over, because that's such an aggressive question apropos of nothing.
You broke Swindle.
Nothing.
For what? Why would it be?
Why would he see? And I remember to this day, like somebody in the back was like, what? And like, we don't know who said it. Like, we still don't know who yelled that. But yeah, that's my, and then Death by Stereo gets back on stage and like tries to play through the rest of their set. And everybody's just like, I don't know what to do. Like, how do we move on from this? Like,
he thought that was his Ian MacKaye moment. He thought that was his ice cream eating motherfucker.
Yeah, that was his like Chad Kruger in Brazil Nickelback. I thought y'all liked rock and roll moment. And like, it just didn't hit. And then, so Bleeding Through gets on stage afterward. Like, right before they start playing, whether or not Brandon remembers this, he goes, we're Bleeding Through and we're not here to suck anybody's dick. And they just go, and then the Boondock Saints thing starts to play.
Sure.
And like the place explodes. Like,
that's fucking crazy.
Who knew that sexual tension would help a band just like impact that much harder?
Dude, here's the thing, like, I'm in that band, I quit that band. Because I'm just like, I can't look at you the rest. I'm supposed to get back in a van with you and dedicate my life. You just threatened to suck a guy's dick for no reason.
God. And with
you guys invited me.
Yes. And this is what I was anticipating. And with that, the band signs to Indecision Records. I think Portrait of Goddess is probably one of the best ones of the whole band's catalog.
Yeah, dude, that album rips.
That it's fucking great. Orion was the first song I heard off that album, and it's like, fuck, hold on, let me pull it up. I don't want to call it by a Metallica name. Wake of Orion was the first track I heard off that. But Portrait of the Goddess apparently went through some issues with the recording process of it. The band overall was not happy with how it sounded. They felt they weren't being prioritized with recording of this. The engineer's name was Greg Collar, who did Throwdown's Haymaker and 18 Vision's Vanity at the same time that this was being recorded. So obviously those bands were being prioritized because those were, I believe, Pat, you can correct me on this, was Haymaker a Trustkill release at this
Haymaker was a Trustkill release.
Okay. So
Haymaker rules.
Haymaker's a good record. That's got Forever on it, right?
Haymaker rips. It's the first Throwdown record where Dave is the singer and Keith is solely, I think, playing guitar on that album. Because up until then, Keith, who's also in 18 Visions, blah, 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 we already know that. The Venn diagram of Orange County metalcore is a fucking circle at this point. Yeah, that's the first album where Dave is doing vocals. That's the Throwdown album for people.
Sure.
That's like their go-to. But yeah, that's on Trustkill. Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, those two records being recorded at the same time, Bleeding Through not being felt as a priority. Scott was even quoted as saying that he would drive for hours to get to the studio because he was living a little further out, and he'd get there and other bands would be recording and the engineer would just turn around and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. You know, I got these other bands recording." So that's, that adds to it. Brandon ends up on tour with 18 Visions when he gets a copy of the record. He's at the 2002 Metal Fest, which I'm assuming is either the Milwaukee Metal Fest or possibly New England Metal Fest. That's still going on to this day.
Metal and Hardcore Fit, yeah.
Yeah. I would assume it's one of those. But he gets it, and I quote, "It sounds like dog shit." He's not stoked with how it sounds. I think it sounds fucking awesome for as aggressive as that thing is. If anybody is listening to this and wants to check out a Bleeding Through record that's not a big one, check that one out in particular. The vinyl copy sounds great too. But in this point, this album actually has some guest appearances on it, which is the first of kind of a long line of guest appearances on Bleeding Through records. You have, I'm going to call him by his real name. You have M. Shadows and you have Sinister Gates of Avenged Sevenfold on this record, in which I'd mentioned while Pat was away for a moment that these guys all grew up in the same area, played a lot of shows together, competing bands. And then you have John Pettibone, who does vocals on Rise. And I know John Pettibone from Himsa more than anything. But I know he was in the band Undertow, which we've talked about, I believe, in our Botch episode? We talked about Undertow a little bit.
You guys talked about Botch.
Wasn't that the band that Converge wanted to be called? Didn't like Converge want to be called Undertow? And they were like, shit.
Yeah.
And he was in a band called Eris for a while, which I believe was on Indecision as well. But Rise is a great record, helps the band kind of propel forward a little bit. During this time frame, though, Vijay Kumar decides he wants to leave the band. He is going to school for music at this point in time, wants to finish that. He also knew that if he continued to go full time with Bleeding Through on tour, which they were pushing to do, he knew he wouldn't finish school. So he elected to do that. And I believe he went on to become a guitar maker at a certain point.
Yeah.
Owned a guitar brand, ASG or something like that. And I remember seeing ads and such for that later on. They had a lot of the guitars that had like graphics on them that would be like an album cover, or I think there's one that I remember with the Monster logo on it. That's the one I just remember the most.
Oh yeah, dude.
But during this time frame, it's also found out that VJ initially was brought on to take Chad's place as a guitarist, but he's brought on as a bassist, and then Brian came in. So Brian nicked his gig. But VJ leaves the band. Brandon then asked Mick Morris of 18 Visions to come and play bass in Bleeding Through, basically saying, "Hey, we're on tour together all the time in 18 Visions. Why don't you just come play in Bleeding Through and we can tour with Bleeding Through in our downtime? You love Bleeding Through. I love you, yada, yada, yada," so on and so forth. And Mick is quoted as saying that he joined Bleeding Through in April of 2002, and they were on tour nonstop until August of 2002. Like, it didn't fucking stop. And around this same time frame, Brandon leaves 18 Visions, or is asked to leave 18 Visions. Brandon was a guitarist in 18 Visions. And I'm sure at this point with Bleeding Through starting to get some trajectory, tours were harder. And I believe this is the point too when 18 Visions was going full bore. They were changing their style a little bit. This was probably Vanity had probably been released. They were wanting the tour really hot off that. Matter of fact, I think Brandon is in some of the press shots and stuff for Vanity as well. I think he's in the video they did for Vanity, which I can't remember what the video was, but that doesn't matter. That's another episode. But Brandon leaves Bleeding Through. Apparently he was approached at a show at the Showcase Theater, which the Showcase Theater is very much akin to like Chain Reaction, which is currently closing. I guess Chain Reaction's kind of considered CBGBs of that Orange County kind of area. But basically the band was really supportive of him. They're like, hey man, you're doing Bleeding Through. You're a great front man. This is where you belong. We're wanting to step it up and go this direction. You need to focus on that. We'll do this. This decision of Brandon leaving Bleeding Through leaves Mick to make the decision to leave Through because he moved from Seattle to join 18 Visions. So obviously he makes the decision to stick with 18 Visions, and he did.
I feel like we need like a chart.
You do. We do.
Strings.
No, we don't. No, we don't. I ain't doing it.
Which band is Jimmy Bauer in at this point?
I'm so tired. I'm so tired, guys.
But they have to find another bass player yet again. Enter Ryan Wambacher. What a last name and hard to spell. Ryan is, I just want to say this. I started playing bass when I was like 13. Seeing Ryan play with his fingers was a big deal for me, especially playing music of this style. A lot of the bass players during this time period were, pick guys, doing what they needed to do. There were some outliers there. I think Slow from Unearthed was one, that sort of thing, really a fingers forward player. And Ryan is a fingers forward player and a very good player at that. But Brandon meets Ryan via a mutual friend. Ryan had been out of school for quite some time. He gets a call from his friend, says, hey man, what are you doing this summer? Nothing, probably going back to school because my parents want to fucking do it. Well, I've got a friend that's in a band that's looking for a bassist. Brandon calls him, asks him straightforward, hey man, we need a bassist. Are you gung-ho? You want to do this? And I think Ryan's question was, well, what gear do you want me to bring? A 5 or a 6 string? And Brandon, being who he was like, I've never heard that ever fucking asked of me before. So bring them both. Ryan had like 4 or 5 days to learn an entire album. So like 10 or 12 songs. They had one practice session before tour. Brandon, I believe it was Brandon, Scott, and Derek were at the practice space. Their full intent was to teach him all of these songs during the practice. And Ryan shows up and they're like, hey, what do you know? He goes, I know these. Are you sure? These are really difficult songs. Flawlessly nails them. Like goes for it. They're good to go. At this point, Bleeding Through has cemented that they need to move forward with a bigger label. They need more support. They need a little bit more exposure. They decide to leave Indecision Records. There's a great conversation amongst Brandon, Dave Mendel of Indecision Records, and Molly Street about leaving the label. It was a really great conversation, apparently. And Dave Mendel's been quoted as he just wants bands to do what's best for them and what they want to do. And, he supports all that. And, if Indecision Records is viewed as a stepping stone for bands to get to bigger labels, totally cool with that. And that is why Indecision Records is still around. But enter in Trustkill Records. Trustkill Records shows up to a New Jersey show that the band is playing while they are still signed to Indecision, which they approach the band with wanting to sign them. Then we get into, I would say, the band's most known record. Pat, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's whether or not it's their best up for debate, but as far as like the one that broke them, the one that, they go from the, I would say, second to headliner, the one that put them as like a headlining act, it's definitely this album, or the one that got them the support slot in the larger tours, as I'm sure you guys are going to get to. Like, yeah, if you were into hardcore or metal or, I know you guys read the magazines back in the day as much as I did. Like, it was inescapable, the ads. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Like, even if you don't like the band, you see the artwork and you know the album, right? Like, yeah. It's like the Jane Doe. I mean, not to blow up like Bleeding Through's like ego anymore or whatever, but like you see that album, like, oh, that's that Bleeding Through album. And then or you see an album that looks like that and you mistake it for the Bleeding Through, because so many albums come out after that were like, oh, we need more blood.
This Is Love, This Is Murderous.
Yeah.
The band's 2003 release, their first for Trustkill Records. This is the first time I heard the band, for sure. Definitely saw the video for Love Lost and the Hell of Gunfire. It's intense. That video is kind of standard for the time. There were a lot of videos just kind of filmed in a white room, like a practice space or something. But this was intense shit. I also bought the Headbangers Ball Volume 2 soundtrack that came out around that time, and it had all these great bands on it. You know, it wasn't just like, hey, here's an album full of new metal B-sides, like the worst of new metal, like Unloco or shit like that. It's like, oh no, we've got Children of Bodom, we got, Bleeding Through, Mastodon's on this one. We've got all sorts of shit that's just on this record that's a little bit more contemporary at this point in time.
I have not heard the term unloco. I was waiting. I expected you to pull like a Primer 55 or a
Close.
or like a Stuck Mojo. An unloco?
There you go.
I honestly, a fun little thing I want to know about this. This is a Pat project. I want to go and I want to see if there was a growth in Boondock Saints DVD sales when this album came out. Because
I believe it.
There's two of them.
Yeah, because it's just like everybody's like, "Oh, it's a good movie," and I'm like, "I don't think it is. I don't think it's a good movie."
The only thing I know about Boondock Saints is Willem Dafoe's in it, and these
Yeah.
two samples. I've never watched it.
You don't need to.
Fair enough.
Watch the documentary about the director. It is 1,000 times more interesting than the movie Boondock Saints.
How many bands have fucking sampled that movie? It's got to be like a laundry list. I feel like
Too many.
I've never seen it. I don't really care to see it, but I have heard samples from it.
Sure.
On like several records, I think.
Dude, it is like, it's on the like Edgelord letterbox. Boondock Saints. Like right there. Next to people who pretend to really like Gummo. It's like, stop it. You don't. Quit.
Hey, good soundtrack though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
But
it's got I Hate God. I suppose I could listen to my I Hate God records. But
I'd
I just
see.
thought that was, but I just thought it was. I think it's interesting that, again, not a movie I've seen because it's like nowhere available. But I mean, I don't know. We don't have to talk about this.
hey, I've never seen Scream 3, but that soundtrack rips.
see,
What's
Yep.
on it?
Wait and Bleed's on it.
Incubus, Creed,
Oh yeah.
Finger 11, No One Loco. Probably not worth anything Dylan would listen
Yeah.
to. But, you know. Pretty good.
I had that soundtrack, Pat.
Hell yeah, dude. What
Yeah.
if rips? It's got a converge part.
Yep. That's right.
It's got a converge part, dude.
Oh
what a
my
bunch of
God.
fucking
It's got a
nerds.
Pompute noodle.
Oh my
cymbal
God.
part.
Mr. Tremonti, why were you in that band?
Dude, I got beef with Creed, man. Why are tickets $90? Stop it.
Whoa.
This is the platform for it right here. So-
I know they're listening. I'm talking to you, Scott.
Hey man, Alter Bridge was better.
Anyway,
This Is Love, This Is Murderous. This was written and recorded between tours. The album was rushed, it seems, but ultimately everyone was happy, at least for the time. They were in the studio for 2 weeks. They wrote the songs, went on tour, got back and rewrote the songs, got an engineer and went in the studio. Quoted from Ryan Wambacher. Apparently the recording was enjoyed by everybody. Everyone has stated it was a little bit rushed, but they thoroughly enjoyed it. Scott has quoted as saying there were 13 to 14 hour studio days for this. They were really, on board with, we got to make this important. I don't know if this is the band's biggest seller, but at point in time, in 2005, the album had sold 100,000 copies. And in like the metalcore world at that point, that was fucking gold, basically, which is insane numbers to think about it. But this is when you get the first cemented lineup of the band, or did we? This is Molly Street's last appearance with the band. She recorded all of the keyboard parts, but was not pictured on the album itself. Molly had decided to leave the band. She had told Brandon, there's a lot of things I want to do with my life. She's going to a really good school for photography. She decides that she wants to do that. They convince her to record the parts. Brian quoted, it was quoted as saying that she did all the parts in a day and he was the only one that saw her in the studio. So it was just in and out, we're going. And her last show was Hellfest 2003, which I believe there's a DVD of that, or there was. Like we've all seen footage from that show in particular. Yeah. It's fucking chaos. But at that point in time, Brandon, knowing that Molly was leaving, reaches out to a young lady named Marta Peterson that they had met on tour. Marta had seen the band on their first tour with AFI at this point, saw them, was really blown away by them. Brandon calls her, says, hey, would you like to play keyboards for Bleeding Through? She says, yes, it's a dream come true, calls her parents, quits school, which she was going to in Seattle at the time, quits school, moves to California and joins the band. That's a lot. That's a big deal move. This was during the time where I guess going to school was a little bit easier than it is now, coming up with that type of money. But joins the band. She's still with the band to this day, so good decision on her part. There's some controversy around her joining the band. Molly is on the record, but if you look at the sleeve of the record, Marta is on the back of it. Brandon had admitted that, hey, we wanted the image of the band on the record to not confuse people when we were on tour. We wanted them to see who they were going to see on tour at this point, which I get it. 100% makes sense. But around this period of time too, like the band's doing bigger and many larger fucking tours at this point. I mean, they're on the 04 Ozfest at this point. They've done their first tour for the record was an AFI tour, Ozfest 04, in which I believe Pat had a chance to go see.
Oh man, Ozfest 04. Where to begin, boys? Where to begin? Two things stand out about Ozfest 2004. One, there was a special promotion that you could get tickets to Ozfest 2004 for $10.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds on paper. That sounds great.
It sounds awesome on paper.
It's like Scion, like, hey, just email us and you can come. Hey, just come on over.
Right. So where they got you was you got the $10 ticket, but the handling charge was also $10. So, and this was back when like you actually went to Kroger, kids, and bought a ticket. And they gave you a paper one. Paper. And they gave you one of those and you had to keep it. You couldn't lose it because if you lose it, oops. I can't pull up proof on my Razr phone that I bought this. So 2004, I think I have the lineup pulled up. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I don't want to take away to go look at it, but I'll just name the hits off the side stage. I think I can remember them because I have, that's my brain. It was like God Forbid, Unearth, Atreyu, Lacuna Coil, Every Time I Die, Hatebreed, Lamb of God, Throwdown, Slipknot.
Yes.
On the side stage. In a gravel parking lot. With rocks. And dust. And cheap hardcore kids who are like, $10 tickets? I'll go fight the world. And so the main stage was, I believe, Superjoint Ritual, Dimmu Borgir, Judas Priest, and it was billed as Ozzy Osbourne, but it was the original lineup of Black Sabbath.
Yep.
So what was interesting is you had guys who you could tell were there for Black Sabbath, but at 9 a.m. because that's what metal dudes do, and they were having to sit through a revolving door of just stuff they hated. It was contentious in a way where like rarely do I go to shows where like people look lost but also meant to be there. Like they got there, but then we're like, I think they got there like, I think I'm in the wrong place. And so all these and it started at like 9 a.m. And dudes were like hitting it hard in the line, still in their car to go park. And like, so we got there, we had missed God Forbid, which at the time I understand they're important to a lot of people. Not a big fan. So we got there right as Unearth starts playing. And it's this thing of like, Unearth is playing while kids are still coming in. So it's like something out of a movie. Like Unearth starts playing and like there's just a run through this field to get to the side stage. And so for the rest of the afternoon, it's just rocks and dust and beer cans and circle pits and I'm sure that people were like, what's that guy? That guy can fly. Because they had no idea what head walking was. And like this is going on for like 9 straight hours, like nonstop. About 2 hours into the daily, and it's July, so it's hot as balls. A friend of mine gets in a fight because that's what you do, and instead of I'm trying to break up the fight, and somebody throws a bunch of rocks and dust, and I end up getting a rock lodge behind my eye. Oh. So for the entire day, I'm watching bands and then pouring water into my eyeball, and that happened at 11 a.m. And so I go through the entire day on the side stage, like, like pouring water in my face, swinging, spin kick, running around, pouring water in my face. So that they go on and they play, and the Slipknot is just like incredible, Hatebreed's incredible. All the bands are going fucking crazy because it's just like you're seeing these bands who are so used to playing like club stages get a chance on a big stage, and like it doesn't look foreign to them, and they end up winning the crowd over immediately. Every band does. It was insane to just see like Atreyu, who like take them or leave them, to see them get the like response of like dudes who were the guys who were like, I only listen to Black Sabbath, and they were like it was like one of the weirdest things of like you sit there like, how is this going to go? And then after like the first or second song, everybody's just having a blast. But things of note of Ozfest 2004, the amount of misspelled band tattoos that you'd see on older gentlemen, a lot of white zombies with an S, multiple Metallica tattoos with one L.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff. I'm just like, yeah, dude, that guy rules. So that was back when festivals weren't revolving, where like a band played one stage and a band played the other. It's like all the bands blew through their sets on the side stage and everybody moved over to where the main stage was. Well, the first band to play the main stage was Superjoint Ritual.
Oh no.
And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life.
No.
It was Phil is having a Phil. We'll just put it that way. And he looks out and he goes, I see a lot of beautiful faces in the crowd. I see a lot of young faces in the crowd.
Oh God.
And I want those, if you leave this show with anything, I want you to know this one thing, this lesson that I'm going to give to you. Dylan, relax. I see you. And you can edit this out if you'd like.
Oh, this is going to be good.
He says to everybody, to all the youngins out there, smoke weed every day, eat pussy till your jaw breaks.
That is the least offensive thing I thought he would say.
Yeah, I was very worried for a second.
Yeah, so he does that, and I'm just like, man, Phil rules. Like, and so like that's at like 2:00 in the afternoon. And then Dimmu Borgir comes on while the sun is still out.
Oh God!
And like, here's the thing: I'm not a fan of them. I black metal like that is ruined for me because of Wesley. Shout out to Wesley from the tattoo shop. Is he was looking at photos of black metal guys one day and went, one of those guys is somebody's dad. One of those guys has to reprimand their kid. And like that's been burned in my brain.
Yeah.
But Dimmu Borgir plays like 3:00 in the afternoon.
It just
and like July sun and like nothing about what Dimmu Borgir brings to a show hits in the daytime outside
during the summer.
So Dimmu Borgir's playing, and like by the second song, all the makeup's gone, and then there's just these like essentially like chubby guys in Halloween costumes bumming everybody out. Like, it was a tough sell. Like I'd never seen so many people taking naps on the grass than I have when Dimmu Borgir started playing. But Judas Priest played. He came out on a motorcycle that fucking ripped. And Black Sabbath played, and it's fucking Sabbath, man. Like it's
right
bucket list.
Well, the band kind of had some similar takes on Ozfest that you did, Pat. Scott quoted as saying like it's the biggest tour they'd ever done at that point, 15 to 20,000 people at different areas. Ryan had probably the best statement of all of them. First, it was being on a bus for the first time. It was like a giant barbecue. We just hang out in the parking lot. As you mentioned, it's like a lot of the bands that played these small club shows together and done, underground tours together and all of this shit, all basically just hanging out with your buddies. But he also stated, imagine the wildest people you've ever seen getting drunk in the parking lot at 9 a.m. in the morning so they don't have to buy booze in the venue. Chicks with their boobs painted with the flowers. It was crazy. So like, yeah, that's understandable.
Women at Ozfest were ahead of the Pink Hats. I'll say it.
Yeah. True feminists at the Ozfest concert.
One love.
This was we did a whole series of episodes from like albums from 2004. So this was like the big year for me, and that Ozfest, which I never went to an Ozfest, but I would get the magazines like Pat alluded to. I'd read the magazines. I'd say, okay, these guys went on tour together. I got to check this out. So I bought like a Hit Parader magazine that had Slipknot on the cover and was like, fuck it. Who they're on tour with, it's all Ozfest photos. So it's like, all right, Lamb of God. I think Mastodon might have even been on that tour as well. Like Mastodon, or maybe that was the next year, but
it's like hardcore got one over. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd love to be on a fly on the wall with a conversation with like the drummer from Atreyu and Kin from Unearthed, where they're just kind of like, this is fucking crazy, right? Like that's Rob Halford.
Big era. If you look at the year before, like 2003, it was new metal bands, Cradle of Filth, and Killswitch. Like those were the two only underground or like independent label bands that were on the entire tour. And that was Roadrunner, which technically wasn't an independent at that point. But the band plays Ozfest, plays the entire tour. They had some touring in 2005. They knocked out their first European tour in early 2005 with some rescheduled UK dates that they did. But then they hit the Stress Tour, which was a kind of bigger tour package that happened during this era. It's akin to like the Chaos and Carnage tour, or there was the Sounds of the Underground a few years later, things like that. But this was a headliner tour for them. They did this tour with Darkest Hour, Zao, Misery Signals, Martyr AD, and Fight Paris, which is a band I forgot existed.
Trustkill. Wild times.
Yep. Trustkill had some wild shit on it there at the end of their period too. Like there was some interesting choices to see what they could grab. But that will come later in this. The band follows up the Stress Tour by playing the Vans Warped Tour at this point in time. And then they round the 2005 period out with an Australian tour. So now we get into the album that we were discussing today, The Truth. The Truth. This was the longest the band had time to actually write. They spent more time thinking about music, what the music what they wanted the music to sound like, how they approached it, everything that they wanted to do. They moved forward with basically taking the sums of the whole and adding more to it and adding more nuance to this. Brandon's even brought up that there's a point on the record where there's a song on the record that he's singing the entire time, and that it's not something Bleeding Through's ever done before, but it is still a different route for Bleeding Through, a different element of Bleeding Through. He did make a great statement saying, we're not writing this music for anyone else. It's people's choice to listen to the music. We're going to write it the way we're going to write it. He's also stated, which every band does, that it's the most brutal thing we've ever done. It's the heaviest thing we've ever done. And I think this is a record that they really wanted to be proud of. They saw the success that came with This Is Love, and they wanted to just push it that much further. They even said the writing process was a little bit smoother. They were listening to, funnily enough, a lot more black metal at the time around the recording of this. Ryan has even stated that the writing process was much smoother. Brian and Scott had a lot of ideas. We knew what we wanted going into it. Everyone was stoked. We had time off, a practice space. We practiced from noon to 4, Monday through Friday. Even bands are taking the weekend off. There's not a song on the album I don't like. Everyone thinks this album is better. And Brian Lepke stated, as far as The Truth, we paid attention to originality and not following someone's footsteps. It's still Bleeding Through, just a more mature just more mature and pulling from older influences rather than newer. Entombed, a lot of Entombed, Slayer, Pantera, Dissection, and old American thrash like Testament. I mean, and I hear every bit of that on this record. I hear very little hardcore on this record, to be honest. Like, it's there for sure, like it's there in scope, but it's very small burst that I actually hear it. Little melodic sections here and there. But it's the band's fourth full length. It actually just recently turned 20 years old. It was released the day after my birthday in 2006.
Hey man, happy birthday!
Oh, thank you.
That's from Josh Trustkill to you. Happy birthday.
I remember I think my mom took me to Hastings Music, which I've mentioned a few times on the podcast.
Big Hastings dude.
Pat knows.
Big Hastings guy, man.
Yes.
Fucking sound shop, eat a dick. I'm Hastings all the way, dude.
You would walk in, and the way Hastings would set up their new releases, they were all right in front of you. Like, everything was huge racks. And
just like at Ozfest.
I was gonna. Damn it! I was thinking it. Damn it! I was thinking it.
Say it. Come on, Austin.
Oh, damn! It was right there.
Be gross. I'm here. It's fine.
Just
loosen
dumping
up.
them out.
Say something. You got to edit out.
And I keep it going. See the album. It's right up front. I think it was like on sale. You could buy CDs from Hastings and they'd be like $7.99 for the first week. So it was like, fuck yes.
You could get a revolver, bubble tape, rent a movie, get some guitar strings, buy a CD, all that at Hastings.
That sounds like Flealand, dude.
There was a coffee shop in the one I had as well.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that because I didn't know if that was a nationwide thing. I didn't want to brag.
Yeah, I think it was a regional thing. I think it was like the southern U.S. had them.
That's
Dude, you say get a revolver. Do you mean the magazine or the gun?
Again, we don't. Yeah.
It's the South,
you could get a revolver belt buckle and a revolver magazine. You get some incense.
I had seen the album. I had seen the album basically marketed in probably Metal Edge magazine, Hit Parader, maybe some early Revolver issues when it was still good. And I saw the artwork. I knew the band. I knew that This Is Love was starting to grow on me. And I was like, I saw the album artwork and went, oh yeah, I gotta, whatever the fuck this sounds like, I'm gonna enjoy it. And if you've seen the original album art, it's just the whole band just gutted basically.
Yeah.
It's all in black and white. Like, the cover is Brandon's face with half his jaw gone. The inserts to the album are great. It's all black and white. The band is just gore soaked. It's like, all right, this is whatever this sounds like. It's going to be great. Put on my Walkman, like in the car on the ride home, and just hit play.
Did you get the one with the sleeve that some stores made them carry, or did you have the one that didn't have the sleeve on it?
So what I know about the one with the sleeve is that came much later. That was like the complete truth. That's what I know. I didn't know if there was, you know what? You're correct. It did have a sleeve. It was a white one. I had that one. White with silver font. So I did have that one. Yep.
Because some places wouldn't carry it, so they had to put the sleeve on
Just
it.
that face? Like the, really? Am I mistaken?
No, man.
I mean,
it was that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like looks like the cover for like 30 Days a Night. Like, they don't look that bad.
I mean, the world was much different back then.
This is like,
not really. But I bought the album. Hit play on the CD, and actually
that's Norm Macdonald.
It was it was a 2-disc thing. If you bought it that way, it came with a Trustkill sampler in the back as well. Cool. So that kind of feeds into that.
Not at the time. It wasn't a cool sampler.
Oh well.
No, it had like Throwdown on it, because Throwdown was about to release. Throwdown had just released Vendetta, I think, the year before.
Ooh,
it's. Ooh. I heard Burn a lot.
Headbangers
during that period. Yeah, a lot. But I hit play. First song hits me, and it's like, all right, whatever else I'm listening to at this time pauses. Like, this is the most aggressive metalcore thing I'd heard at the time. It was like, okay, and this is 2006 too, so like, there are albums to come. There's a No Heroes set to come on that. And hearing the opening line, it's just dry and it's just him screaming, I don't give a fuck. It's like, okay, what the fuck is a blast beat? Because there it is. Like, this is pre me getting into like Cannibal Corpse, which came just a couple months later. Completely changed my view on what aggressive music could sound like. The production was dry. it almost sounded like a demo in a very like, it's underproduced, but also overproduced in many facets. I mean, you can hear points in Brandon's voice where he's slightly off key a little bit, which I like a lot. Even some of the stylistic choices on there, it also felt like it was a great entry album because it was hyper aggressive, but it had the big melodic choruses that I'd heard in metal music at the time. Obviously, like big Killswitch Engage fan, like End of Heartache, Alive or Just Breathing had those as well. But this was just like a more aggressive form of that, the way it was structured. Blew my fucking mind. Like the videos that were sorted out for the track were great too. It looked like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2003. It was just fucking killer. It was just riff after riff after riff. Learning like, oh, these guys definitely listen to like thrash. There's Exodus on here. There's Testament, Creator, Violence. All this shit is on there. And like, it was a wild album. And hearing that for the first time just changed my life on music. Like changed my output of what a metalcore band, which I didn't even use the phrase back then, could be. It was just heavy fucking music to me.
Can I ask how old you were when that came out?
16. Just turned 16.
No shit.
Yep.
Damn. Yuck.
On the topic of production, I was like really surprised to see that Rob Caggiano was behind the board, and I'm sure that's like for a couple different reasons, but like, you know, my introduction to that person was like my first time seeing like Anthrax. He played on Worship music. I think he also had helped some of that band's production at the time as well, but like, you know, here he's got like this whole like laundry list of different things with like Cradle of Filth and A Life Once Lost, all sorts of other shit. But yeah, I had no idea I was shocked to read that name, I guess is what I'm saying.
When obviously I read the liner notes of the record, and it's like, who's on this record? Rob's on there, had no clue who he was at this point in time because Cradle of Filth was to come. Nick 13, obviously doing guest vocals on this record on Dearly Demented. Nick 13 is the vocalist of Tiger Army, as well as a solo project, which he did a country record 15 or so years ago that's pretty okay. It kind of sounds like Bakersfield country music. His voice fits it. And then Ben Falgout of Soylent Green and Goat Whore fame is on the opening track, and it's like, this is fucking rad.
I would love to know how. I'm sure you just kind of meet people and whatever, but that's pretty wild. Wasn't expecting that one.
It's a different one.
One of y'all said you could hear how tall he is.
Yeah. Knuckles just dragging the ground like
his fucking his fucking bracelets clanging on his
the cuffs. But it is a cool kind of guest spot because he adds a little bit more texture to this really gnarly heavy song before it kicks into these kind of big open choruses that are in it. But Austin mentioned Rob did the production styling. Kind of a weird choice during this period of time because, you know, the band could have really picked anybody to record them at this time. They've got Trustkill behind them. The last album did really well. I mean, they could have chosen Adam D or somebody that was in vogue at this time. But they chose him because he decided to make kind of choice or help them make their songs better. Basically, he made stylistic choices like, you could kind of cut this part down a little bit. You could do this. It wasn't him pushing, you need to write and record different songs. It was, what can you do here? What can you do to make you sound like the best version of you? But it also seems like there may have been some back and forth with them a little bit going on here. In hindsight, Brandon has said that was one of the hardest records he's ever recorded. He wasn't really happy with how the production turned out. I think that's one of my favorite things about the record is the production. It's just the guitars. Swindle and I talked about this off air. The guitars are just kind of disgusting sounding. It sounds like they're kind of out of tune at certain points, and the layering's really weird. Like it fits this kind of necro sounding guitar sound that's on this thing. But obviously, like Rob had done work with Cradle of Filth, and the band is no stranger to being fans of black metal at all.
Yeah, I think I read even like Marta saying that was like some of her biggest inspiration. Like she mentioned them by name in an interview or something. So, and it was there. Like there was.
Oh,
I didn't need to hear her say that. I'm like, oh, yep, that's it. That's it for sure.
the keyboards in this record, I think, add a lot of atmosphere, add a lot of texture to it. I think it's a really strong point. One point about
really?
when I like the keyboards on the album.
Pat?
I look, I know the format. I'm not getting ahead of myself.
I only have one track on here that I'm indifferent of. And that is the ballad. That's Line in the Sand. I wasn't huge on it when I was a kid. I've learned to appreciate it. I'm still not the biggest fan of that. I like the guts it took to do something like that. I like the fact that the vocals are reaching a little bit for Brandon. That's kind of outside of his box. He does a few things really, really fucking well, and there's a couple points on this record that he does them really fucking good, and he sounds great. I also think he doubled his voice a lot on the record too, to add some thickness to it. But Line in the Sand, there's some highlights I like about it. I like the fact that there's like bass lines on it, like there's an actual moving bass line that's on it. The vocals are very Anselmo kind of esque, maybe Vulgar Display of Power kind of era there. I think Marta really shines through on that track, but it kind of sounds like a standard metal ballad of this time frame. That's the only track I'm indifferent on here. I mean, For Love and Failing, I've already mentioned my adoration of that. Swedish death metal riffs, blast beats. Derek as a drummer is fucking nuts. I think his choices of what he plays in certain parts on this record are wild, especially with this band having breakdowns. He's not just playing breakdown drums. There's shit in between stop points that he's adding these fucking astounding fills that I don't know how he does it. And there's also stuff that he's playing that's kind of offbeat and like all sorts of shit that's going on here. I think you get a culmination of the record on For Love and Failing. But Austin, Swindle, Pat, what have it?
They get into this record really fucking quick.
I think most of the tracks are like that. I think most of the tracks are just, they kind of get right into it. There's not really like, there might be a few builds and such here and there, but for the most part, it kind of, I feel like they're the formula with most of the tracks, I'll say. It's kind of like get right into it, and then they're all genuinely kind of like the same pace. They're like a circle pit riff. Like they all have a kind of a circle pit riff. I don't know if that's like what you got, Swindle, but that was my first takeaway from my like initial listen of the record.
It's funny to me. It's funny because I had a thought when I listened to this, but it kind of is backwards from how it happened. I was like, of course, Dylan's favorite like metalcore is like mellow death inspired metalcore because it reminded him of death metal, and that's why I liked it so much. But it's like it happened in reverse. Like before you got into death metal, you got into death metal inspired metalcore, and then you found death metal off the back of that. So it's weird because I had this like thing built up.
Like I went backwards.
Like Dylan came out of the womb in an Entomb shirt and then like worked backwards, like worked forwards but backwards.
Yeah. I don't know, Pat. When you like first heard For Love and Failing, or just like like the record for the first time, what was your initial reaction, and has it changed? Do you still get that feeling when you listen to it now?
For Love and Failing, I think is exactly what Dylan was saying, of just kind of like, I mean, there's no better way to say like this is for us than to open it up with I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like there's no better way to be like, no, this is our record. If you like it, cool, but if not, this is what we're gonna do. And that's I like bands that are confrontational. There's nothing that I like less than when I go see a band and they either have nothing to say or they look like I'm bothering them by being there to see them play, So to have a band come out and be like, I'm just like, all right, sure, I'm in, because at least that's something, you know what I mean? And I had already liked Bleeding Through, so I was looking forward to this album a lot when it came out. And I think what stands out the most to me about Bleeding Through from This Is Love, This Is Murderous to here, and this is kind of something that like I think separates them and puts them on like a higher tier when it comes to like metalcore of the time, was you may not like, it's hard for us to think about it now, but at the time there weren't a lot of like metalcore bands that like you could understand what the guy was saying.
Yeah.
And so when you have bands like of that ilk or of that era where it was like Unearth, Kill Switch, Hatebreed, you like it's heavy and you recognize like, oh, this is heavy, but you also I hear everything they're saying. So I can connect with it on that level. As you know, Dylan said, he had a heart. He was in Arkansas. Girls are mean everywhere. Like so like I think to me, like that's the first thing I noticed is I was like, this music's insane. Like these guys can't, there's no one in this band who can't play.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so like right off the bat, I was like, this song rips. I hope the rest of the album maintains this. And I think all right, I'm gonna dig myself a hole here. Are you guys familiar with Doctor Who?
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever heard the theme song?
Sure.
It's this keyboard part. Now, whether that is parallel thought, whether that's a deliberate lift, who's to say? There's only so many frets what to play. There's only so many notes what to hit. But if you listen to that keyboard part, that's the Doctor Who theme song. I will say
hunt
that
it down.
as far as like Brandon's vocals, I would like to know when in the tracking of this record that this was done, because I think that as far as like his harsh vocals, this is his strongest performance on the
Agreed.
album. For the whole, like for the song is like, and I'm saying his hard vocals, I think this is his like best performance. I'm a big sequencing guy, which we'll get into, I guess. So like this being an opener, even without the I don't give a fuck at the very beginning, is a no-brainer, because you get like, oh, the rest of the album's going to have at least every song's going to have a little bit of this in it, except for we'll get to it. Except for the instrumental and the softer song. Like it's tough to outdo your opener that they did on This Is Love, This Is Murderous. Cause I mean, that's just a banger
That's a classic.
With the sample and then the vocal where it kicks in. Like they did it twice, and not a lot of bands can do that back to back on albums. And they did it. And I think this song rips.
As Pat said, like they basically hit an A+ on 2 records back to back, which is an extremely daunting thing. And, you know, I think we're all fans of hearing an opening track and going, hopefully we hear more of this on the record, right? You know, for me, like hearing singles such as like Love in Slow Motion and Kill to Believe are fantastic singles to me. They're a great blending of the thrash and death metal styling that the guitarists were listening to at the time. You've got this commanding presence with Brandon and his vocal styling. Pat hit the nail on the head. You can understand every single word he says, even when he's going his most guttural, which there are points on this record that he's doing that. I believe it's, I think it's in She's Gone, which is like the 1.5-minute long track. He's doing some shit on She Is Gone that's like, it's death metal vocals basically. And it's cool to have like a track of that length on here, because some of these tracks are a little longer. You know, I was actually shocked that one of the tracks is like 5 minutes total. It's dearly diminished. It's 5 minutes on the nose. And it's a little shocking to know that track's that long. But like I look at Love in Slow Motion. I mentioned Derek's drums earlier. There's the really big fucking breakdown at the end where he's like, one of the most memorable parts to that song to me are his hits in between the big open breakdowns, like the fucking fills he's doing, everything on there. You know, I mentioned Ryan's bass playing. The instrumental at the end of the album had a huge impact on tones that I liked. It made a chorus on a bass sound cool.
Can I ask a question about the Dearly? Can we talk about Dearly Demented?
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about before, the point where Bleeding Through lost a lot of the core. I think that song has done more damage to Bleeding Through than they want to give it credit for.
This one?
The the one with the Tiger Army guy on.
The one with Nick 13 on it.
Yeah, it's like it's so the whole. So I guess the standout track to me is Dearly Demented for a couple reasons. It feels kind of thrown together a little bit. Like, to me, it kind of feels like a song they've been working on for a really long time, and they got it to a place where they felt good about it. But to me, like, it just doesn't fit with the album. It's long.
It's really long.
It's really
for this
long.
record. It's really long.
Yeah, it's a really long song, and like, there's the I was able to dodge the pomade covered bullet that got shot out of the stand-up bass that was the sock hop rock of the time, with like Tiger Army and like that thing. And so, like, I know they're probably buds. I'm sure he's a great dude, but like, it just that combat for ya. I was like, what are we doing? Like,
Sure.
It just didn't hit. And I'd like to know if they've ever played that song live.
You know, with them doing this like 20th anniversary tour, I think they've even hit like, we're playing some of the songs from the record.
Yeah,
They're not playing the full record.
Right. I wonder if that song ever got played. Like, maybe like a record release, I would anticipate it.
You're right on that one. There's a lot going on without there being a lot going on that track.
Right.
It's got one riff in it. That kind of intro riff is like a one and done kind of one string thing that's going on.
It's very bouncy, that riff.
Yeah. Yes. It's very kind of Pantera-esque in a sense, with the kind of one strings and stuff. And then I did
think it was weird. Sorry. No. I did think it was weird. That song does have a hard change, like halfway or 2/3 of the way through the song. It's like stops on a dime and like changes to completely different like part.
It's got the one like hardcore part on the record, like at the back side of it. It's like kind of a throwdown part.
Yeah.
Like it's the one instance that you really hear hardcore, like traditional hardcore on the record. So yeah, like it's one of the less memorable ones to me, but when I hear it, I'm like, there it is. Here comes the Nick 13 vocals. Here comes all this. My question would be, was Nick the original guy they wanted? Just think about who they toured with.
Oh, shit. So you think that's an interesting, you know what? That's an interesting thought. Because it isn't a certain key that I don't think old Mr. M Shadows could hit, but old 1D Havoc. That's in his...
That's right in his range.
Yeah.
That's...
Dylan, look at you.
You never know.
There's a lot going on.
Tinfoil hat Dill.
Lifting the veil.
I don't know. There are aspects of this song I like. I think the problem for a lot of these tracks that kind of like irked me was like, I would get a riff or even some of the black metal-esque parts that I would really fucking love, the death metal riffs, whatever. And then it would just get like undercut with like the shift into like the more poppy, cleaner parts. And I think like certainly this song,
Kill to Believe or Love in Slow Motion.
There's like several songs on this record where I'm like, I fucking really love this opening part. And then it just kind of transitioned into like the cleaner vocals or like the more like uplifting stuff. And I'm like, yeah, almost had me. Yeah, you almost did it.
I think Kill to Believe would get a pop still. I think if they played that now, I bet it would still get a pop.
And I'm also coming from it in like, this was not something that I grew up on. This is not like a style of music that I was a fan of really at the time, let alone knew really existed. So now coming back at it, I'm like, oh man, this is so weird. Like, it's crazy that the metalcore hardcore guys are playing like fucking
black metal,
and the keys are like really weird. That's so interesting. And then it's like, oh wait, we got this like Shadows Fall like clean chorus part. Like, what is this doing here? And I like Brian Fair's voice. To be honest with you, I don't think Brandon's cleaner parts are, like, I'll say the ballad, I think that's his best clean performance to me. But the rest of it, I'm kind of like, I could take or leave it. I think his like harsher, like more screamy guttural stuff, I'm like, man, that's where I'm at. That's like what I want.
So like sequencing wise, with that like acoustic, call it what you will, ballad, it having that in the middle, it does like, it's almost like it's those things of like, we talk about like when records are made, like to be a fly in the wall. I want to know who lost the argument.
Yeah.
No.
right?
Right.
Like who lost the argument to not put it at the end? Because having it smack dab in the middle, there's Dearly Demented, which we've talked about, and then it goes to the Line in the Sand, and then it goes into She's Gone, which is like 90 seconds.
Yeah,
it's
gnarly.
And here's the thing about what rules about She's Gone is we finally get a dive bomb, like a legit. And I've been wanting one the whole album. I wanted one, and we get one, and it's there. And I'm like, let's fucking do this. But what happens? Get out your Earl Grey tea, governor. Here comes the Doctor Who keyboard part. And like, I don't those are the decisions, Austin, that I am just like, what if you brought it down in the mix a little bit? What if you brought it down a little bit? Or maybe what if you didn't double up the vocal on the clean part to where it sounded a little bit more pristine? But like, it's kind of like what Dylan said, that the band said, is like at this point, like Bleeding Through was starting to separate themselves, whether intentionally or not, from that scene of being hardcore forward. And so like, to me, like the clean parts make sense, but the placement of them, maybe the production of them, it puts them in a weird spot of just kind of like, I don't think Brandon would be offended by me saying this. He's not Howard. He's not Jesse.
Correct. Yeah.
Like he's not. So to make up for that lack in range, you kind of have to double up the vocal to make it sound bigger. And in some points, depending on where he's at register wise, when you double up that vocal, it does it bites, like it cuts through more than it probably would on, say, the earlier records where they didn't take advantage of some of the more production techniques they probably had. So I agree with you. And like, I kind of see, I would like to, this sounds really weird. I'd like to hear like a remix version of this album where like the vocal sound is raw as the guitars do, because there's this weird, dichotomy that's going on of like, at this point in time, there was such an emphasis on like solid, clean sounding records. I mean, you had Bryce put out Artist in the Ambulance, and you couldn't hear a palm mute on that if you fucking tried. Like, it's such a heavily, overly produced album. And it's almost like Bleeding Through took the wrong lesson from that, of just kind of like, we'll make the guitars as heavy as possible and we'll emphasize making the vocals clean and make those stand out, when other bands at the time were doing like the opposite. I don't know. It seems like this was after listening to it, I'm like putting myself back in that mindset of like, this was obviously on purpose. This is obviously a reaction. They were putting out an album to be like, okay, here's what we're going to do, and here's what we're going to do moving forward. And it's almost like there was a little bit, the emphasis was put on the things of just kind of like, well, that's not, Brandon, we love you, but we don't come to this for the clean parts. They're cool, but we don't need them so high, you know?
Right.
And if you want to unplug the keyboard entirely, like, go for it. Like Patrick would be okay with that. It's all right. You don't need to have someone go boop, 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 boop,
right,
like for no reason. It's fine.
I did think there were like 2 or 3 parts where the keyboard, like in the first song, in the keyboard solo, I was like, the sound that the keyboard is making is just weird. Like the sound that they chose, not like the notes that she's playing. It's just like the effect that's on this keyboard part is weird. Also, the effect, She's Gone, it sounds like a fucking harpsichord. Like she's playing Beethoven.
There's a lot of
the arpeggiated stuff at the end.
Yeah. It sounds like a guitar. It sounds like guitar sweeping, but on a harpsichord. And there's one fucking other part. Return to Sender.
Yep.
The synth during that is like, sounds weird. It's also during the chorus when there's like the vocal part is supposed to be really important, and it's so fucking loud, so it makes the chorus sound so fucking cluttered. Like the vocals are trying to do something important, the synth is doing something weird sounding at the same exact time.
I agree. Brandon has actually said in recent years he really likes the songs on the record a lot. He said the one thing that kills it is the mix.
Yeah.
He's like, there's so much. He's like, I would love to do a remix of this record. And this was during a period of time where there was no release of the record at this point. Once, the Trustkill stuff happened, like a lot of shit went down. I would love to hear a remixed version of that. I don't say that a lot about a lot of records, but I would love to hear a remixed version of this one in particular, especially a more kind of modern record like this. I'd love to hear it. Change, adjust some levels there, polish up certain things, leave the guitar tone alone, leave it alone.
And like, that's why I mentioned the Thrice album specifically, is because they went and remixed or re-recorded Artist in the Ambulance, which was like their breakthrough album. And like, it's such a heavier record with the guitars just like recorded. I don't know if they just mic'd amps and they were going DI the first time they recorded them. I don't know. But like, if you go back and you listen to that re-recording of those songs, you're like, oh no, this is a fucking awesome. I bet this was great live, but like sitting with like a CD in a car, I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like this sounds,
Yeah.
this sounds so smashed. It doesn't sound big. And like, it's like you said, like the sequence, or I'm sorry, not sequence, but like the mix on this is like the guitars and the drums and the bass nailed it. But it almost seems like the vocal and the keyboards were just kind of like, they were put, I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to be in the room when someone lost an argument. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Of like,
Sure.
turn it up. And it's like, I don't know. What do you think? And then 3 out of the 6 were just like, I don't know. And then Rob went, well, it's already there. So moving on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
You look at the record. It's a flawed record. Bleeding Through will always initially be thought of for This Is Love, This Is Murderous. I think that's the classic for the band. That's what kind of the band. You look at their merch now. There's a heart on it at some point, like an anatomically correct heart. It's on there. The Truth is, I would say, probably their biggest record at that point. Highest debut, that kind of thing. Back when
that
this stuff
would have to
mattered.
make Josh Trustkill release his numbers. And
Right. Yep. And a lot of people are owed a lot of money.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But I do want to add one more thing about the record. Scott and Brian as a guitar duo during this period, like they were doing some really rad shit. And this being their last record together, it's all thrashy stuff. It's Kill to Believe is fast as shit. Like the beginning of Hollywood Prison, that's just a right hand fucking workout.
Can I ask you a question about that song?
Sure.
I hate to interrupt you. So Hollywood Prison, what do you think's more overused in hardcore and metal? The Slaughter of the Soul Go, or the Entombed ba-na-na-na-na-na-na? Yeah, what do you think it's used? I know the Slaughter of the Soul Go gets recognized more, but what do you think it's used more in? Like, so many bands slide that Entombed thing in there because they think they can slide it.
That's so funny. I don't know. I was the whole record. I was going through. I'm like, man, Circle Pit after Circle Pit part, and then then they did this at the end. I was like, okay, they at least know what the fuck they're doing. Like, that was so funny.
It's the line that sticks out. So to answer your question, Pat, I think now it's going to be the Entombed thing.
Right.
I think now. Whereas during this era, it's Tomas the entire time. Like every bit. Like, look at the Darkest Hour catalog. Like,
shit.
Black Dahlia Murder. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Who am I thinking of? Fuck. Alexi, what's that band again?
Children of Bodom.
Yeah, there's some of that in there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the thing that always sticks out on this song to me is we talked about how you can literally hear every word he's saying, which I love. But the "I'll rip out your spine" I love it because later on I found out there's a Cannibal track called "The Spine Splitter." So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this works out. And I just immediately, I remember listening to this track as a kid, hearing that line going, I've seen Predator. Like, maybe they watched Predator, because it's like the hand in the skull thing.
So your ear didn't get piqued when he said, I won't be your carcass. You won't fuck the life out of me. You weren't like,
hey, I'll rip out your spine and I'll shatter every mirror, were the two lines that like hit me.
Swindle? Any lines stick out to you in particular?
Pat, you might not be as entertained by this, but there's a scene of Robin Hood Men. There's a scene in Robin Hood Men in Tights where the late Maid Mariam is like, I'll do the most disgusting thing I can think of. I'll marry the sheriff of Nottingham. And she was like, you can have my body, but you can't have my heart or soul. And the sheriff is like, okay, I'll take your body. But there's a line of that fucking song that's like, you'll never have my heart or something like that. And every time I listened to that song. I was like, Robin Hood Men in Tights. Robin Hood.
You know I'm
God.
40, right? Like, you know I'm 40 years old. Like, you know I saw that movie in theaters. Like, you know that, like what are you doing? Like, hey, Patrick, you might not know about Mel Brooks. Like,
He plays.
Thank
I
you.
don't know. I don't know how highbrow your
God.
how highbrow your
oh yeah, sure.
sense of
Yeah.
humor is.
You've been in a room with me for 10 minutes. I'm really shooting for the moon on my humor. I'm trying to go over people's heads. I'm definitely not shooting for their midsection between their nipples and their knees. I'm definitely. I want to give you something to think about. My jokes are.
right.
I'm a thinker.
So you end the record with an instrumental, which as a kid I thought was really interesting. It wasn't expected. To me it always sounded like what more were they working on in this vein, right? Like what was going on, because it is vastly different from really the rest of the record. It's these almost kind of passing post metal kind of like chord progressions that are going on in it. Like that would have been an intro track, albeit you didn't need it as an intro track. It's a cool thing to kind of end the record on. I like it. I'm take it or leave it on the instrumental track personally. I thought it was just a cool thing.
Kind of, thinking back to sequencing, would this have done better? Like, do you think it should end the record? Would it have done better perhaps like as a more of a transitional piece? Like if you even scaled it down a little bit? Like, I don't know. Pat, where do you thoughts on the
Flip it with the line in the sand. That's my thought. And the reason I think that is because like hardcore's ruined my brain, and I only think of albums in like, could this be a set list I'd be interested in? And to put an instrumental in the middle, I think of, okay, guys, we'll play this over the speakers and we'll tune, we'll drink some water. This will play while we do our change guitars, because at this point they probably had stagehands. You know what I mean? Like to me, like an instrumental in the middle of an album makes more sense than having it at the end, because I'm going to be honest, I'd never listened to the whole thing until you guys asked me to do this one. So I mean, and plus, I'm also listen to a lot of like vagrant indie music, and an acoustic song at the end makes more sense. Like that's just an acoustic as a closer, or even like, to me, like the instrumental would make more sense as either the closer or a secret track.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Like,
yep, almost
to
like
have
God, sorry, Pat, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
CDs used to have it. They had the reverse track that would play at the end, right?
Yeah, track 91 on a CD with 12 songs. You know what I mean? With like a bunch of seconds of silence. Like, or if you're old like me and you love Korn, maybe it doesn't start till track 13. Maybe.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Deep cut.
Maybe August 18th, Follow the Leader came out on my birthday, bro. Dylan, I get it. We're attached to these things. These are the things we love, and this is why we love them.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the sequencing on this is perfect until you get to that. But to me, what saves that instrumental track is just having that beater of a 90-second right after it.
that is fun.
Yeah.
Like that is just like, to me, that like I was like, okay, I'm back. Okay, you got me back. But I'm just like, instrumentals, I'm just like,
it that clashed in itself too, because it didn't feel like it. Yeah, it was like, oh shit, okay, we're back into the thing again. Like it threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, like those are the conversations I'm interested in, that part of albums that they get made of, like who was just kind of like, I have veto power. It goes there.
You've brought up sequencing quite a bit, and there's another record that came out in 2006, which would be As Daylight Dies, which I think has some of the worst sequencing I've ever heard on a record. It makes no sense how everything is sequenced on there. Whereas this one, it's like, okay, flip the tracks, right? Like flip it, shorten a track up, seamless at that point, right? Because I still look at albums like A-side, B-side, even though it's treated that way. Like it's a 12-song record. You got 6 on one, 6 on the other. I'm sure time frames came into there as well. The band's never been really prone to make really long records, which I enjoy. They're all around that kind of 40-minute mark. And even if you cut, 1 or 2 minutes off the record, you've got a lean 40 minutes. Even if you want to put the ballad at the end, right? Segue, start of the B-side. It's an instrumental track, kind of shows you what could be coming with the ballad, right? That way it's not as jarring as Austin said. It's not this huge jarring thing. But But apparently, even with all of these strange production values and song structures and everything, the album did pretty well for the band. Debuts at number 48 on the Billboard 200, which is a big fucking deal in 2006 at this point. Number one independent release in the country. That means over anything else that came out that week, it is the number one release, which, to add to it, get a little nerdy on this, is in January, there are not a lot of album releases. There just aren't. We know this. They usually don't start picking up till around March. That's because the holidays. This is first week of January, essentially. And releases back then were Tuesdays. So like drops on a Tuesday. Big shit release for the independent community at that point of every record label, so on and so forth. It did massively, not only well here, it did well in the UK, debuted at 153 on their 200 chart, and then it debuted well in Canada as well. The band went on to do even bigger touring for this record than they had done before. They spent the summer on Ozfest yet again. They're going back for the second wind. They were one of the revolving second stage headliners at this point. You had Black Label Society on there, Atreyu, Unearth, Bleeding Through, Norma Jean, A Life Once Lost, Strapping Young Lad, which there's a connection later on with that. The Red Chord, and Full Blown Chaos, All That Remains, and Between the Buried. So again, yet another stacked kind of lineup with more underground bands. I think they kind of jumped the shark. They had Slipknot playing the second stage in 2004, and they just wanted to shoehorn Black Label on that one really well. Like, hey, Mafia came out or Hangover Music came out the year before. Hop on, bud. Zach needs a side gig. We're still doing Sabbath reunions.
Dude, how many songs did Between the Buried and Me play at an Ozfest set?
I would say 2.
No,
I'm trying to think of like what album
this
was
is
out.
This is
pre-Alaska?
Colors.
Yeah, this is post-Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's all right.
Good era.
Okay.
They were still a metal band.
Yeah.
They
put out their best record.
They weren't Fish.
Shut up, Matt Graham.
Metal
They
Fish.
They did a headlining run with Every Time I Die, Between the Buried and Me, Haste the Day, and The Chariot.
Saw that show played at the Muse.
Yeah,
the Chariot played. They were on stage. Whether or not they played a song, up to you. You be the judge. Did the Chariot ever play a song live? Who knows? Josh was there, and he was mean to me, but they were there. It's fine.
God. They returned to Australia and Europe to support the album as well. Australia, they were doing shows with a band called Carpathian, as well as I Lay Dying, which were probably at their biggest at this point as well.
They're pretty big now.
Everybody's they're sure.
Everybody knows who As I Lay Dying is.
Oh, everybody does for sure. I'm wondering, obviously, if our buddy Owen went to one of these shows at this point.
I bet. Yeah.
And then they did some bigger touring in 2007, being an opener for larger bands. They did a tour with the Finnish band Him, playing looks like amphitheaters and kind of larger venues. Then they did an arena tour with Marilyn Manson and Slayer as the only opening support act of the band.
Do you think they got slayered?
Oh man, if Killswitch and Mastodon didn't, I don't know, but this is like a different crowd. This is like a Manson crowd as well, right?
Oh, so this is they didn't get Marilyn Manson.
Why? What'd he do?
Who'd he beat?
What did he do that everyone pretended to be surprised about?
I'm shocked. And
that guy did that? Weird.
I'm so startled. But they did really big tours off of this record. I will say this. It doesn't seem like once the record was released, I don't remember seeing a ton of press for the record once it released. And Pat can remember it as well as I do. It was like the record's out, does really well, zilch. They did, obviously, like the Kill to Believe video got a ton of play on Headbangers Ball, MTV2. Love in Slow Motion didn't. There was a Line in the Sand video. I didn't see it till many years later. There's a video for Line in the Sand. They also did another version of it as well, and it's terrible. The second version is not good. Like, even in comparison to what we may think about the original, the second version is rough.
Oh, I don't think that it's a bad song. I just don't need it.
No, like, it's,
you know what I mean?
Like, if you hear the second one, it's like a radio edit, and it's so strange sounding.
get to watch Brandon have a feeling. I don't want to do that.
It's a weird video. It's really weird.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a strange one. But obviously, like with a few of their album cycles, the guys lose a pretty prominent member around this time period. Scott Deneau leaves Bleeding Through. It just seemed to be they had grown apart and someone had to leave. And Jonah Weinhofen of I Killed the Prom Queen ended up joining Bleeding Through, in which, Swindle, you're probably familiar with that name. Pat? I know you and I are.
I've seen they were surprisingly touring the South a lot at this time on like opening. I Killed the Prom Queen played like real weird tours with like Evergreen Terrace, like on Broken Wings. They were playing clubs. They were coming, I think, from Australia, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
And they were, I don't necessarily know if they were on those tours so much as they were happened to like schedule a tour and just getting on other shows the entire time. What I call the CDC formula. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that hardcore band, but like they just found out where bands were playing and then would go get on those shows, which I think is an insane way to book a tour.
Yeah, right.
And whether or not that's hardcore rumors, right? But I just remember seeing them like 4 weeks in a row at random shows and I'm just like, do they move here? Like, what is this? They were good. I mean, this was back when they had, I think this was back when the gentleman you're talking about was still in the band. So this was predates the Bleeding Through stuff. But
sure.
Those first couple I Killed the Prom Queen records are just like, goofy name aside, very, very solid metalcore releases.
Pretty aggressive metalcore records.
Yeah, a lot heavier than the name you would guess a name like that would entail.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jonah joins the band. Now, during this period, as I mentioned before, and we've alluded to, not a lot of press for the album once it was released, not a lot of support from the album. You started to notice that there weren't as many tours going on in between those stadium tours, kind of typical structure of any band that was getting larger at the time. You didn't see that. There are issues going on with the label. Now, in our notes here, I added the entire press release from the band on that. I am not going through all that. But basically, it came down to money owed to the band, money owed to the producer of the follow-up record to The Truth, Declaration, which was produced by Devin Townsend. Money was being borrowed from family members to do things. And at this point in time, basically the band was like, release us from your fucking label. The record's going to get released. Download it. Do whatever the fuck you need to do to get it. We want you to hear it. But basically, all intents, fuck Trustkill Records at this point. And at that point, the record releases, they sever ties with Trustkill. Declaration has like little to no press at all, nothing, and it's a gnarly fucking record. Sometimes it's a step back style wise, not talent wise. It's a much more straightforward, heavy album. It's like what you probably could have gotten in between This Is Love and The Truth.
Perfect.
It's like the connector.
Absolutely.
It's fucking gnarly. The closing track of that record is bone tingling to me.
It's one of those where it's like, oh, the new guy loves this band and he's playing the parts of the band that he wants to hear. So he's gonna write the Bleeding Through record he wants to hear, and it rips.
I won't spend too much time, but there's points on that record where I start to get the comparisons of Brandon has a very Randy Bly kind of vocal thing going on. It's like, okay, this is fucking rad. Even more fucks, Austin. Even more fucks.
I was gonna say we open. All right.
And it's
turns out he gives them.
Does he ever?
He gives.
He's got them.
He's got so many
issues with Trustkill. The band goes on to sign with Rise Records after that, which not a lot on that label I really pay attention to or did. They got a couple cool Bleeding Through records off of that label, which I still really enjoy listening to. There's a self-titled one that revisit if you can. Really black metal shit on that one. But basically around this time, you get a couple more records from the band, and in 2013, they break up. Basically, a lot of the members were going through different things in their life that they couldn't commit full time to Bleeding Through. And that was always the statement made amongst the members was, if we couldn't commit fully to the band, we don't necessarily want to do it. Let's go away for a while. And it was only a little while. They started to put things back together, probably 2016, 2017. They announced their reunion. They ended up releasing 2 more albums at present date. You got Love Will Kill All in 2018, and then you got the most recently released 9 of last year on Sharp Tone Records, which is a subsidiary of Nuclear Blast Records, I believe. I think those are really fun records. I actually prefer 9 over Love Will Kill All. There's some thing. It sounds like the band is doing things they want to do, which is what I like about this band overall. It doesn't sound like you have to play what we're telling you to play. It sounds like we're picking what we want to do, regardless if it works or if it doesn't. We're making our own choices. I believe this most recent record is Ryan's last record with the band as well. He left not terribly long after the recording, but you've still got Marta. You still have Brandon in the band. You've got Derek is in the band as well. I don't want to forget about that. And then you've got a couple really great guitar players that are in the band now. And I got a chance to see them at the End in August of last year, and there was like 50 people there. And it was it was insanity. It was just great. The band was having fun live, like just going off. Like it was fucking great to see guys.
With 50
like
people at the end. If the lights are off, that looks packed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a blast.
Right.
Like I've seen the band twice. I've only been able to see them twice. I saw them in 2010 at Rocket Town's White Building. And it was a situation very much like this. The tour package they were on did not match the band that was headlining. I think it was The Word Alive played right before them, which is not a good band. They played Everybody Left, or maybe it was For Today, one of those other
closet Christian metalcore bands of the time.
Oh, there was no closet. This guy was spending 20 minutes of the set doing a sermon on stage, and I wanted to myself right there.
Hey man, teach his own. Go with God.
And those 2 bands played, and the bulk of the crowd left. And it was like 100 people in White Building, and Chapetti's like, "This is it. All right, fuck it, we're going for it," and like just played a blistering fucking set.
That rules.
And the end was very much like that. It was just, all right, thank you guys for coming out on like a fucking Monday night. Let's just fucking go for it. And they had so much fun, and it reflected in the crowd, and the band's still doing it. They're enjoying doing it. I believe they're actually currently in Australia playing shows for the 20th anniversary of The Truth. Bleeding Through's The Truth, to me is in my top 10 of favorite albums of all time. I can listen to it anytime, at any point. I can put it on. I hear one track from it, I'm like, well, record's got to play now. I fucking have to do it. I always wondered why there weren't more records that sounded like this at the time. And I think Bleeding Through's underappreciated a lot. I don't think you've got a lot of different elements to these modern sounding bands, whether you like them or not, that would have happened without Bleeding Through. You don't have blast beats entering hardcore the same way. You don't have maybe the black metal synths either entering hardcore or modern metal for that instance without Bleeding Through. And I think it's just subtle. Like, yeah, I compare them to Unearth, Darkest Hour, bands of that ilk that are very well respected, but maybe didn't have the massive success that like a Killswitch Engage did.
The band.
There you go. The working man's band, right?
Yeah.
They're Dusty Rhodes to everybody else's Ric Flair.
Right.
Yep. I love this record. I love this band. Everything about them, from demo to most recent record, I love this fucking band. And anytime that you can get a chance to see them now, do it. They're still fucking great live. They're fucking fantastic. But that's all I got. Thank you, knuckleheads, for listening to me rant and rave about this record and gush about it. And Pat, thank you so much for coming on and talking about Bleeding Through with us.
Yeah, that is so little. Thank you. I'm glad to bring this one down a bunch. You guys have gotten these like esteemed musicians. It's like, let's get the Never Was on the show.
No, but we've been talking about doing this for fucking ever. So I really appreciate you hopping on for one. I hope you come back.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to get on here and not be told and be jabbed at how old I was, like in the Converge episode, where you guys spent the first 5 minutes trying to decide if I was older and by how much.
This episode is not over yet. We still got one more part to do. Let's not forget that.
Give me a minute to put mine together.
God damn it. Well, I can go if need be. And
Yeah,
I
go for it.
shall. This is the part of the episode where we like to do recommendations, things we've been listening to, things we think you should check out. I got 2 for you. This was a random one. I think our friends in Defacement overseas shared this. Gorch? I'm going to say that's how I'm going to do it.
God bless you.
Stillamentum, which we're on a Terminator timeline. It has been released January 30th of this year. It's out through Avant-Garde Music. It is a 2-piece. I believe they're 2 Italian brothers who make experimental dissonant black metal. This is their sophomore album. It's their first in over a decade. I saw the cover and I thought, wow, that looks really fucked up and weird. So I checked it out. 6 songs. It's like a little over 37 minutes and it is awesome. It's fast. It's violent. Cannot recommend it enough. I think it is so fun. One of my favorite releases from January for sure. My second one is a single. Again, Terminator Timeline just dropped today. An Adornment of Light from our friends in Chain to the Bottom of the Ocean. Going to be coming on an upcoming EP titled Let Us Not Speak of Them, But Look and Pass on February 20th. Another one through Red Squirrel Records. 4 new songs. I feel like it sounds like a mixture of what we heard on the last full length with a little bit more dirge. Yeah, it's definitely doomier. It sounds like it on this track. It's massive sounding. It's filthy. It's noisy. The vocals are terrifying. I fucking love it. They went with Seth Manchester again to record it. It's got some Aaron Turner artwork, and then I believe, it's killer. I know they one of the members of that band was kind of filling in on like tour and driving. So they were hanging out a lot, I'm sure, and got to pick their brain about that. There's another really great sculpture by an artist called Totally Not Panicking that looked great. It's on the single artwork. They have one date announced. They're going to be playing in Philly, March 14th at Bonks. Yep, Bonks with Moros, Lycan, and Caged. So if you're in the area for that, definitely check them out. They got a bunch of other stuff coming up that you should keep an eye out for, but I think it sounds great.
My rec is an EP, 2 songs by people that are definitely our friends of the show for sure. Big Garden, Matthew Thudium, and Mitch Wales from Thou. This is like more shoegazy-esque. It came out from The Strange Daisy Records, which I think is a local record store, record shop, record company in New Orleans. And the first song on the EP features a person from the Project Fawn Response, but go check out the Buds that we are definitely friends with.
So I have 3. The first one is we may be on a Terminator timeline, but the South has been dealt a disgusting blizzard of a hand recently. So I have been held up in my home, just depressed, listening to black metal records. What else is fucking new? But Immortal's second release, Pure Holocaust. It's fast as shit. It's aggressive. You get Abbas like froggy fucking vocals that I love so much. That dude might as well be like, he's like the Matt Pike of black metal to me. Immortal's
Matt Pike,
fantastic.
Not British.
Not British.
Not
Not
British.
British at all. Second record that I'm suggesting is by a project called Ruum. It features a former member of Mayhem. The album is called Black Royal Spiritism. I am not even going to attempt to pronounce the rest of it.
No. You have to because
Austin. What the fuck?
Austin did his.
I had
All
it.
right,
I had one
Gorsh.
off
All
of
right.
Bigfoot's
So-
foot,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, he had like Doink Records or whatever. Like, so now you gotta go.
I'll be,
Like, what did
I'll
you
be
have?
seeing you in the parking lot. It's Black Royal Spiritism, I o Sino da Egreja.
Fuck, I'm so proud of you.
So it is fantastic.
We
It's
lost that
black
entire
metal.
audience.
It's black metal. It's
You just said a
progressive.
slur.
It's black metal, so probably so.
Probably.
Yeah.
So it's progressive. It's black metal. It's intense. There's dissonance on it. It's a fucking journey and a half. And then finally, Bleeding Through. Listen to Bleeding Through if you've never done it. If you got any sort of issue with what the band may sound like, you're probably thinking incorrectly. Portrait of a Goddess, Declaration, the self-titled record, and then This Is Love, This Is Murderous, and The Truth. Just start with any of those.
I'm gonna take some time here, and you can edit this out or edit it down if you'd like. I got some suggestions. First and foremost, Swindle, you mentioned our good friend Nick. A lot of people might not know this and might be surprised by this. Nick is doing an instrumental black metal electronic band called Witchbolt. YouTube.com/@WitchboltMusic. I'll send Austin the link. He's got like 1 million plays on some of this stuff. He's got upwards in the high hundreds of thousands plays on a lot of these albums. He's putting out music at such a clip that is just kind of like, it's admirable to me. I'm proud of him, not just because he's my friend, but also because just to have somebody dedicate the time that he has to create this stuff, given all the stuff he has going on. It's really interesting. It's not just like atmospheric doomy music. There's also like, he's got an entire world of lore that he's built around every single release. So if you, like us, like your music to have more than just maybe, here's an MP3, and you want stuff to dig into, fans of the show, what you guys do every week, he does a similar thing, but for his specific releases. And it's just, I'm so proud of what he's done. Again, it's Nick, it's our good friend Nick, but the name that he goes under with this stuff is called Witchbolt, and it rips. I listen to it constantly when I'm doing like data work. You can have it on the background if you want, but it's just, there's so much going on, and it's just so chill. Like it's just so impressive to me that like that's what Nick is doing right now. So I want to suggest that Witchbolt. I think there's a lot of overlap between what he's doing and your audience might not realize like, oh, this is a genre of music I like now. I didn't know I could like this. I think it's a really good entry point to that kind of stuff. A podcast suggestion, my friend Russ, who is instrumental in me finding heavy music. He has a podcast called You Want It, You Got It. It's a podcast similar to this, but he talks to a lot of punk bands. So if you're a fan of the Orange County stuff of like the late 90s, the original Warped Tour lineup kind of things, the Fat Rex, the early Epitaph releases, if you're into that kind of music, You Want It, You Got It. Russ is doing that stuff every week. He's interviewing bands. He's posting music. He's doing a ton of work. It's a really great show. So if you get a chance, check that one out. I do a show with two of my old roommates. It is nothing like anything I've described to you. It is us taking turns yelling over each other, making accusations, airing grievances that after 15 years have still not been settled, routinely telling our version of things that happen when we live together. It's called Through Being Cool. Yes, it's a Saves the Day reference. You can find it on all your podcast platforms, Through Being Cool podcast. We have a stockpile of about 15 episodes that I'm just going to set out there. We were kind of on an unintentional hiatus in a lot of the later part of 2025, but we're going to hit 2026 running really hard. Also, lastly, a little self-indulgent. I have recently been releasing some novellas, some writing. My most recent thing is called Your Kids Are Ugly, an unfortunately true vasectomy story. It's available on Amazon. I know everyone hates Amazon, but when you're self-publishing, your options are extremely limited. So if you go to amazon.com/author/Patrick Fagen writer, that's Patrick Fagen writer. It'll be there. I'll make sure Austin throws a link on there. I've just been doing a lot of, unfortunately, I lived a life of only me stories, and this is kind of my version of a novelization of a one-man show I was working on for a while. So if you haven't found my presence on here abhorrent, and maybe something I've said, you're like, that sounds like something a grown-up shouldn't say, well, you should read a bunch of shit a grown-up shouldn't have written down. So yeah, if you check that out, it'd be awesome. Really appreciate it. Again, it's called Your Kids Are Ugly, and unfortunately true vasectomy story. It's something I wrote. And lastly, this is just for you three, so you can cut this out if you want. I want to thank you guys for doing this. And not just like having me on the show. That's whatever. It's cool. I love you dudes. This is huge for me. I've been nervous all fucking week because this is a legitimate enterprise. Not like what I'm accustomed to. So if you think that this is willy-nilly, you three wouldn't fucking cut it on the 3 Cool show, right? So what I want to say is 2025 was not great for old Patty D over here. A lot of stuff happened. You guys are familiar with some of it because there's a reason I haven't been on a couple previous episodes. And there's been some times where I'm on some long drives to do some things and be a part of some things I don't necessarily want to be having to do or be a part of. And having a backlog of these, or having this to come look forward to every week, or just see that you guys have taken this from the 3 of you to talking to bands that maybe you guys don't understand because you're in it. These are bands that mean a lot to a lot of people. Seeing my friends talk to, I believe, Sean from Coalesce.
Yeah.
Seeing you guys talk to Justin fucking Pearson. What I'm saying is, like, you guys might not notice it because you're in it and like you're living it and you're putting in the work and like you're releasing this. But this, I'm your buddy and this means a lot to me. So like, think about what it means to the people you don't know and like use that as motivation to like keep doing exactly what you guys are doing. Because I've turned so many people on to you guys. When people ask, what are you listening to? Yeah, fucking, I could suggest some fucking Spotify on Netflix nonsense, but like, that's not the world we're from. So those suggestions carry no weight. And I don't suggest that kind of shit. I suggest my 3 friends sitting in their rooms, talking to people that we recognize, but other people don't, and are hopefully taking the interviews and the stuff that you guys are doing and expanding whether it's their worldview, what they're listening to, or just, I don't like black metal, but if you guys suggested I'm going to listen to it, I'm not going to like it. But I owe it to you. I'm like, I owe these guys. Like, they're giving me 2 hours every week. I can give them 45 minutes of a guy screaming into an SM57 with a sock over it, hitting a China cymbal in another room, talking about God knows what, making World War II references that I don't think that guy understands. I'll do that for you because what you guys do is just like, it means a lot to me to be invited here and to like be a part of this. Why you made me follow the guy from Vow and Trevor from Unearth is beyond me. It couldn't have been like one of our. I couldn't have followed Chaz. I would have much appreciated that.
It's coming.
I say there. All of that to bring it back to this. I'm calling him out. I'm cutting a wrestling promo. Oh. All of that you thought all of that was to glaze you dudes. God. No. That was all a lead up to say, Chaz, you got to get on here, buddy. Stop acting like you don't want to do this. Stop acting like you're not listening just to hear this part, because we all know you did. We all know you listened through all of this to see if I'd call you out. And I'm doing it. Get on here, talk about demeanor, talk about me and my friend Cody, because those, like, again, like, no joking, those are two of my favorite bands. I don't know what the lyrics are. I recorded one of those EPs. 2 of my favorite bands. So yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, all joking aside, please understand that what you guys do means a lot to a lot of people, whether or not you guys want to recognize it. You guys are crushing it. And I'm so proud of what you guys have done and where this has taken off from like the first episode to, like I said, getting names that like normies and civilians would probably recognize. I mean, like, good on you, boys. Oh. Keep it up.
We love you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thanks
you,
for
Pat.
we got to have you back. Through being cool, check out the writing, check out the vasectomy. I need to
check it out, dude.
Dylan's checking it out.
Dylan is. Check out the vasectomy.
I don't need any more convincing.
I don't want to plug my own shit too much, but take a gander.
It's all linked below. Check it out. Check out Pat. Our stuff's down there as well. But for Swindle, for Dylan, for Pat, we're back next week with something else. See ya.